it. This is it. This is kind of the end. This is the extremeness. Oh, the screen went black right as I was saying it. Only one of these teams can qualify. Only one of these teams is allowed to move on. Double Critical or Squad Zero. Let me fix my microphone there. I'm the Sneaky Dragon, and I've been traveling for, I kid you not, 29 hours. I am exhausted. I am tired. I made a quick impromptu bowl of pesto from leftover materials found in my fridge, and I am determined to cast this game. Because this is the last set for Squad Zero. If they do not win this set, Squad Zero will not move on to the playoffs of Global Gym Battles. They're done. They're eliminated. And the same is true for Double Critical. This is intense. This is personal. Only one team can survive. Whoever wins this moves on. Whoever doesn't, does not. End of story. If you want to be the #1 team in Pokemon Pocket, you have to win this set. Ugh. A little bit dramatic there. I am very overheated, thirsty, tired, but we're gonna do this because this set is gonna be that cool. That intense. That awesome. Alright, who do we have? We have Ace from Squad Zero. Oh, excuse me. We have Ace from Squad Zero going against Poi from Double Critical. Poi, is that the same Poi that posts like the anime stuff in the Ursa Day server? I'm not sure. Oh, alright. Squad Zero is starting off with an Eevee Charizard deck. This is a little bit surprising because, you know, in their last set, they deliberately avoided starting off with this deck since they've become just a little bit too famous for it. A little bit too known for it. This is like Squad Zero's favorite starting deck. They really, really like starting off with the Charizard Eevee deck or some kind of Solgaleo Rush deck. And I think their opponent recognized that. I think Double Critical recognized that. They responded with the Oricorio Sylveon, a good deck all around. You know, no major weaknesses on Sylveon Oricorio. And it also happens to counter Charizard Solgaleo. So I think what Double Critical was thinking was that, oh, you know, if Squad Zero brings their favorite deck as their first deck, right? We're going to be ready. And if not, we'll still have a good first game. A really smart start by Double Critical, bringing out that Oricorio early. It is a little bit risky because if you run too many Oricorios, you could get stomped by an alternative Sylveon deck. And if you don't run enough, you could get stomped by EX decks, right? So it'll be really interesting to see how many more Oricorio decks Double Critical has locked in, because remember the way it works is you've got to lock in a deck, right? You've got to lock in all 10 decks before everything starts. You lock in your 5 players, you lock in the 2 decks for each player, right? That's all locked in before all this begins. Because they can't change their decks later. They can't do that. They can only switch between the decks that they've already chosen to battle with in this particular tournament. Great first prize point for Double Critical. It looks like their strategy of starting with Silvally Oricorio is doing really well. I'm nervous for Squad Zero. I've been following them since the beginning of this season in Global Gym Battles. But I want to narrate this fairly because this could be their last game. This could be their last game in the Global Gym Battle Season 2. They could lose their chance to compete for the top spot. You know, they were doing great in the beginning. They were the top team in their division in the beginning, Squad Zero was. But then they had a bit of a rough streak. You know, their teamwork started faltering a little bit. Other teams were playing really well. They lost a few points, but they came back. They brought it back like the heroes of a movie. They brought it together. They worked out their problems, and they've been kicking butt lately. Squad Zero has been kicking butt lately with a huge win. An amazing win last week against Magma Invictus. But right now, Squad Zero is in a very tough position. I don't think they can win this game. I think this game against Sylveon, Silvally, they're using Sylveon. Silvally Oricorio is not winnable for the Charizard deck, but Squad Zero can play it out to try to figure out what else is in the deck, because they still have to beat it, remember. They still have to beat it. Even if Squad Zero loses their Charizard deck, they get to come in with another deck, right, and attack the Oricorio. So they want to kind of find out what kind of supporter cards are being run there. By the way, just a reminder for everybody, there is a 10-minute delay. While you're watching this, I'm already 10 minutes into the future. So I'm going to do my best to respond to the chat when I can. You just might need to wait a little bit, because I can only see the chat, usually between rounds, and I can only respond when something like this happens. Alright, that was a quick loss for Squad Zero. It really stinks for Ace. They just got outpicked. You know, I think the Double Critical picked a really good first deck. They had Squad Zero's number. They nailed him. Now Squad Zero's got to hope that Ace's second deck is a counter to Rio. We'll see if Squad Zero did their homework. But first, let me check the chat real quick. I'm just gonna take a little peek in the Twitch chat, just, you know, see what's going on. See if anybody's asking any questions or doing anything. Nope, nothing yet, which makes sense because of the 10-minute delay. I'm not actually live yet. Funny how that works. So if you're watching this, of course I'm live. My perspective, not your perspective. I'm basically a Time Lord. In case you didn't know, every streamer who streams with a delay this long is a Time Lord and has to do some really confusing calculus to figure out when something's happening for me and when it's happening for you. But we will be getting into the next game. I think they're just going to dive right into it. Yep, they are. Because the teams don't really have a choice. Double Critical. Oh, I should assign them the win, actually. Let me put that on the screen. So Double Critical has defeated one of Ace's decks, and one of Ace's life points. If they knock out one more deck, Ace is gone. Ace is sent to the Shadow Realm. That's not so good for Squad Zero. Alright, game 1 goes to Poi from Double Critical. I'll just write DC on there. And Squad Zero's really got to win this. Ooh, that's too big. Let me make that just a smidgen smaller. Squad Zero has got to win this, or they lose their first player, and that's really bad. You don't want your first player to get swept. Losing a deck isn't the end of the world, but losing a player means you're behind on momentum very badly. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I'm hoping Squad Zero has a very clever counter deck. Ooh. Alright, it seems like Squad Zero is going for the Ponies and Frog deck. Frogs and Ponies. It's that famous deck with Greninja, Giratina, and Rio. Ooh, and it looks like their starting hand isn't bad. Not bad at all. The point of this deck... Sorry, not Rio. Sylveon. What am I saying? The two frogs, Greninja and Giratina, which is frog-like, you know, it bellows, and Sylveon, who's the pony, frogs and ponies. We're doing a poll for what this deck should be called. Anyway, the idea is you use Sylveon to get a lot of draws, use Greninja as if it were like a Darkrai that can also hit the bench, but you could also attack with it, and Giratina's like your main big damage dealer. And in a pinch, Sylveon can attack too, so it's a good all-around deck. It has a lot of power, a lot of utility. You can Cyrus snipe from the bench. Frogs and Ponies is probably one of the best, if not the best decks right now. Outside of something like Eevee Party, for example, which is pretty good. I'm not liking the look of that timer. Squad Zero only has a few seconds left to make a move. I think they're deciding whether or not to play that red card, potentially. Is that a red card? That looks like it might be a red card. And they're going to play it. They've decided to play a turn 1 red card, knock down their opponent's hand from 4 cards to 3. I agree with that red card. I think that was a good move. You know, you might give your opponent another basic Pokemon, that's very possible, but you might deny them a red card, and you really want to deny them a red card, because if Squad Zero gets red carded right now, they lose that amazing hand, right? So they're playing red card, so they don't get red carded. Excuse me. I think some water went down the wrong pipe. Oh my goodness. It's been a very long day for me. I'm serious. I've been traveling for... I was traveling for over 29 hours. It was a trip. It was a trip. I maybe got a little bit of sleep at the airport while watching my bags. You know, it was an adventure. But you know, I had to stream this. I got back to my apartment. I was like, nope, I'm streaming this because this is Squad Zero's last chance. If they don't win this, it's over. If they don't win this, they're done. How could I not stream this? Alright, so they got Giratina on the bench. It's pretty good. It would have been nice to have that a turn sooner, but still pretty good. And unfortunately, they did get Marsed. While I was talking about the airport, they did get Marsed, which really stinks. I mean, that's really, really bad. You know, they were trying so hard not to get Marsed, and it happened anyway. Squad Zero could have won the game if they hadn't gotten Marsed. It was really, really lucky from Poi, actually, that of the 3 draw 1, 4 cards they had, they were able to get a Mars. You know, especially because Mars can't even be played after something like a Professor Oak. So wow, Poi was pretty lucky there. Squad Zero tried really hard to prevent that, but it just didn't work. As a result, the type Null is going to finish off Eevee. That's going to be 1 prize point for Poi, putting Squad Zero in a bit of a tough spot, because if they use Giratina as their main attacker without Greninja, they have no way to deal with Oricorio. It's not looking so good for Squad Zero, I've got to say. That was sheer bad luck. That was sheer bad luck. But something I always say about these, whenever one team has good or bad luck at the start, their luck always inverts by the end of the set. So if Squad Zero's having bad luck now, we can expect them to have good luck by the end at some point. Maybe in the middle, maybe towards the very end, but they've got some good luck coming. I know that's the gambler's fallacy, but statistically speaking, it is more likely that teams have even luck over the course of the very many games they play in a global gym battle set. So there is a little bit of math behind the superstition. Right? Right? And if not, you know, Sableye likes to mess with the numbers, so Sableye will make sure they get some good luck later. You know, little gremlin in the machine. Little gremlin in the machine right there. Sableye. Very cute ghost Pokemon. Oh, I'm sorry, my eyes are watering a little bit. Oh, I need sleep, but I am here for the stream. I'm doing this for you guys, for Squad Zero, for myself, and for all the viewers out there. We're making this happen. We are making this happen, gosh darn it. Alright. Yeah, so Squad Zero is just going heavy on energy for Giratina. The idea here is, even if Type Null evolves into Silvally, right? Attacks Eevee, tons of damage, knocks Eevee out. Giratina can then knock out the Silvally and get rid of all of Poi's energy, and hopefully stall until they can get Greninja online. Because Greninja is the only thing that can hurt Oricorio. It's the only thing that could do it. I don't know what's going on with me. Oh, my eyes. Eyes are just watering. Alright, so they're not going to do it. They're not going to do that play. You know, Poi is too smart for that. Poi is clever. You know, Double Critical is a team that's made it this far in the Global Gym Battles. They're no pushovers. They read Squad Zero's move. They used Telekinesis. Or, whoa. They used Future Sight. There we go. Almost knocked over my food there. They used Future Sight and predicted what Squad Zero was going to do, and instead put the energy on the Type Null in the back. That way their energy was safe when Giratina attacks. And then they can counterattack Giratina with a Silvally next turn. It was a very smart move by Double Critical. Very smart move. They didn't fall for Squad Zero's Giratina trap. Now keep in mind this position only exists because they got a little bit lucky with the Mars early on. But still, you know, they're making great moves. Both teams are playing the cards they were dealt very well. I'm not really seeing any mistakes from either team. They're doing a great job. We see a Oricorio come in from Poi. That's just going to wall off the Giratina. I'm actually surprised. I thought they would go for like a Type Null, but they still have the ability to do that. I think they could always retreat Oricorio, right? Go back into the Type Null for big damage if they want to. They could do one attack with Oricorio and then threaten to KO with Type Null later. They got a lot of options. My goodness. They've got quite a few options. And I think they got what it takes, which scares me because I do want Squad Zero to win, just a little bit. But Double Critical Poi, they're playing very well. They're playing very well. They might take it away from Squad Zero. Yeah, Double Critical wants that playoff position just as much. Just as much. They want it too. They want it double. See what I did there? Oh, my eyes. I don't know what's happening. This is what happens when you fall asleep in an airport, I guess. I mean, if this continues, I will run them under some water real quick between games. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I'm allergic. Maybe I'm allergic or something. I don't know. I'm pushing through quite a lot to make this stream happen. A lack of sleep, travel exhaustion, and whatever is happening with my eyes. But I must witness this game. I cannot fail to witness this game because this is their last chance. Alright, Squad Zero is bringing Eevee to the front. They don't want Giratina to go down. That would be devastating. That would be game losing. They do have a rare candy, but what they really need is a Greninja. You gotta have a frog with your frogs, right? They choose not to use Collect on Eevee and instead to power up Giratina again. I don't know if that's the right decision, because Eevee's definitely going down, and you kind of lose if you don't get the Gren, but I guess they had to put energy on Froakie, so yeah, that was really the only decision they could make. Because think about it, if they didn't put the energy on Froakie that turn, if they gave it to Eevee to use Collect, then even if they got the Greninja, it still wouldn't be able to attack. They're thinking about so many things in advance, and I'm blinking nonstop. Ugh. They're making all the right calculations, but the cards just aren't there. They don't have the heart of the cards. I think we need a little bit of heart. Where's Psyduck? Here's Psyduck. I love my Psyduck. Psyduck will cheer for Squad Zero and give them the heart they need. Heart of the cards. Psyduck, can you say heart of the cards? Hold on. I've been practicing this maneuver with my Psyduck. Duck, 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 duck. Alright, hopefully the Quack of Justice has given... Quack of Justice, I don't know. Has given Squad Zero... Yes! It worked! It worked! It worked! It worked! Squad Zero actually drew the Greninja! I don't know how, but we did it! Heck yeah, Psyduck, let's go! Alright, they got the Greninja! That's awesome! I actually don't believe that worked! But it did! Let's... The Psyducks in the chat. I don't have any emojis, but type Psyduck, I don't know. Oh, that's awesome, it worked! My eyes are still watering, I can barely see, but it worked! Squad Zero goes in with Greninja and takes out the Oricorio. This is amazing. They're in checkmate position right now. If Oricorio comes forward to attack Greninja, Greninja can knock it out. But if Silvally comes forward, which is what they're gonna do, Giratina can knock out the Silvally. There's only one possible way Poi could win. They would need a Cyrus this very turn, and they don't have it. That Professor Oak will deny them the ability to play any supporter cards. That means there is nothing they can do to save this. There is no Pokemon that can survive Giratina and Greninja. Together, they do 150 damage to the active Pokemon, and Squad Zero even has Cyrus, in case they want to hit something else. So even if that Oricorio gets caped, Squad Zero can still peck something in the back, but they don't have cape, so Greninja can just finish. If Squad Zero had not drawn the Greninja that turn, they would have lost. Seriously, they would have lost. They needed a little bit of heart of the cards, and they got it. 3 cheers for Psyduck and Squad Zero. Let's go. That's amazing. That is amazing. And they'll be taking this game, tying it up with Double Critical, who also played very well. I mean, they played fantastic. That was a good Mars. It was a good read on the Mars. You know, both teams are doing great. And they both, I think, deserve to go on to the playoffs. But one team is going to have to prove that they deserve it just a little bit more. Because whichever team loses does not go on. Their season is over. Alright, game 2 goes to Ace of Squad Zero. Alright, I am going to real quickly look at the comments, see if we've got anybody in chat saying anything. We've got some folks on YouTube. Hi, folks on YouTube. We've got some folks on Twitch. Actually, we don't have folks on Twitch yet. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and put all of the links to everything in the various Discords before we get into Game 3. Just give me one moment to let everybody know, because now that the 10-minute delay is up, I need to let people know that we're playing. So just give me one quick moment to do that. Hold on, I gotta do this in bold. Last chance. Only one of these 2 teams can go on. Boom. Copy that. And put it in general. Alright. Now it's a party. Let's watch Game 3. Now, just a reminder to everybody about how the rules works for this format. The way it works is both Ace and Poi have lost a life. They've lost a deck. If they lose their remaining deck, they're gone. They are no longer allowed to pilot. They are sent to the Shadow Realm. They're still allowed to help their team on comms. They can be on the Discord call like, hey, I think you should do this with the rest of the team, but they can't play anymore. They have to bring in a new player, with 2 new decks that were registered ahead of time. So whichever team knocks out a player first will have a big advantage. They'll have the momentum for the rest of the tournament. Because think about it. You knock out, right? Let's say Poi wins and knocks out Ace. Then Squad Zero has to send in a team member. Sure, they can pick a deck that counters Poi, wipe Poi out. But now the score is tied, right? And Double Critical sends in a new member. So they have the momentum. They have the counter pick. So whoever wins this game gets the counter pick. They have the momentum, the stronger position. So winning this game is really important. My eyes are starting to feel a little better, too. So far, it's not completely clear what deck Poi has chosen for their second deck, though I think it's the same Charizard deck that Squad Zero was running initially, which is pretty funny. We see Eevee use Collect. That's going to give them an extra card draw. It doesn't look like they have Charmander yet. And Squad Zero has a pretty good opening. Oh, wow! That was an amazing Sylveon right there. The draw is useful. The draw is important, especially if that draw gives more cards, which could potentially lead to a rare candy and an instant Greninja. But more importantly, it gives Sylveon the ability to attack and knock out that Eevee right now, which is big. That's a prize point. It's very valuable. Professor Oak goes forward. They get a cape and... oh! That stinks. Not getting a rare candy is really bad. Squad Zero was gambling on the very likely chance that they would get a rare candy from all those extra cards, but as a result, they didn't get it. That means that if they get red carded right now, they lose all of those beautiful draws. But that's okay. They've got Sylveon in the active slot, so it's still a good move. They can attack Eevee, knock it out in one hit, and if if Double Critical, if Poi does not get a Charmander or another basic, they're just going to lose next turn. Squad Zero is debating whether to attack or to put energy on Giratina. It's a tough choice, because, if you put energy on Giratina, you could have a counter to Charizard later. They're just going to go for the aggressive play. They're going to attack. They're going to try to win right now. Odds are that Poi will have a Charmander. They got the collect card with Eevee. They're going to draw another card right now. That's 2 more cards. If any of them are like a Pokeball or an Oak, it could be a little difficult. And then there's a Pokeball from Poi. Squad Zero got an amazing start. Don't get me wrong. They got an amazing start. Double Oak, double Pokeball on curve, everything. But missing that rare candy was significant, because the rare candy would have clinched it. The rare candy would have won them the game. But without the rare candy, it's still anybody's game, no matter how many cards they drew. Alright, Poi did get the Charmander. That was pretty expected. But they still need a turn to evolve it, use Stoke, right? That's not happening right now. We'll see if Poi has a Mars or a red card to sabotage Squad Zero and give them a little bit of a reset. No, Poi is choosing Professor Oak. Interesting. Poi would rather draw cards than sabotage Squad Zero's cards. That's a big risk. That's a big risk, because Squad Zero can't evolve Greninja. They can't evolve Greninja. They don't have another Sylveon in their hand right now, or they might have played it. So, from your perspective, it's very likely that Squad Zero has Mars. You're taking a big risk. And sure enough, it looks like Squad Zero's got an easy Mars right here. They're powering up the Froakie, not the Giratina. They got all this water energy in their energy zone. It's not looking too likely they'll get Psychic. So they just play Mars, completely sabotage Poi's hand. Really powerful. Fairy Wind goes off, knocking out Eevee. Yeah, it's looking really good for Squad Zero. It's looking fantastic for Squad Zero right now. The only thing is that they don't have Giratina up and running. So a caped Charizard could be very difficult to take down. Even with that Greninja... oh! But the Mars was too powerful. The Mars was too powerful. It bricked Double Critical, and Squad Zero wins. With good luck, and we talked about this, good luck and bad luck. They come in spades. Squad Zero had some very good luck, some insanely good luck this game. That's going to be a win for Squad Zero, and Poi is eliminated. Poi is sent to the Shadow Realm. Not a lot to talk about that game. Both teams played very well. Ultimately, Squad Zero's strategy to draw lots of cards and then sabotage Poi's hand worked pretty well, and the Squad Zero did get pretty lucky, if we're being honest. They got pretty lucky that game. They had some bad luck, they had some amazing good luck. I think it's kind of evened out now, and hopefully we just see some good games. No, that was a good game. Hopefully we see some more good games. Right now, it's 2-1. Ace has been eliminated, and it's going to take a minute for them to start the next game just because Double Critical needs to decide which player they're going to send forward. Remember, Poi is gone. Poi can't play anymore. Poi has been sent to the bench, right? Sent back to Bill's PC, if anybody remembers that from the old Pokemon games, Bill's PC. So, there are only 4 members left on Double Critical. Only 4 surviving members left. They've got to pick which one they're going to send out, and whichever that is, the deck that player registered ahead of time has got to be good against Frogs and Ponies. It's got to be good against this Greninja Giratina deck. Alright, while they're deciding on who they're going to send out next, I'm going to check the chat, see if we have any questions. I don't see any on Twitch. I don't see any on YouTube. So we're going to keep going. Let me just press some buttons to make sure I don't accidentally leak something I'm not supposed to. There we go. Alright, so anyone familiar with Double Critical, who do you think they're going to send out next to try to fight Ace? Ace is a pretty quality member of Squad Zero. I don't have like a little, plaque card for them. Like, Goons is the anchor, Randomways is the goat, Ace is kind of like the ace. I mean, their name says it all. They show up, they win some games. They're just a general good all-around player, and they're taking some big wins for Squad Zero right now. Starting out 2-1 despite an impossible first game. There was no way they were winning that first game. They were hard countered game 1. But, didn't let it get to them. Didn't go on tilt. Like a true Pokemon Ace trainer, they stayed confident. They made the best possible moves. And now Squad Zero went from behind to in the lead. Ace is doing very well. And who did Double Critical send out next? We're going to see their name in just a sec. I think it did flash on the screen, but I missed it. Interesting start. And it's going to be Shadox. Shadox from Double Critical. Alright, Squad Zero hoping for a Giratina. They got an Eevee. A Giratina would have been a little better because it could have gotten energy this turn, but an Eevee isn't bad. That Eevee is potentially, a Sylveon evolution that could turn into more cards, turn into a rare candy, right, in a few turns. Still, this is not a very good start for Squad Zero. Notice in the Energy Zone, they have a Psychic Energy. I know Sableye is a Ghost-type Pokemon, but in Pokemon Pocket, it's a Psychic type. Work with me here. Work with me here. It's a Psychic type in Pokemon Pocket, because they don't have a Ghost type in the card game. I wish they did. That would be really cool. Like a spooky little Ghost energy. But because they have that Psychic Energy in the Energy Zone, they really wanted a Giratina. They wanted a Power Giratina. They couldn't get that. Now Squad Zero is going to have to try to win this with Froakies, but they've got no Water Energy for the Froakies. It's going to be tough. They really want a Water Energy next turn. They really got to hope for that Water Energy next turn. Or it's going to be very awkward. They're going to have to shuffle out Froakie, lose energy, lose time. And it looks like they're fighting a Charizard deck. You don't want to lose time against a Charizard deck. Or it could even be Eevee Party, right? Which is even worse. Either way, you don't want to lose time. So Squad Zero's really got to hope that they can draw some good cards next turn. It's Eevee Party. Yeah. Yeah, that looks like an Eevee Party deck. We're going to see Collect go off here from Shadox. They're going to draw more cards to bring to the Eevee Party. For any... Ooh. But somebody just bust a piñata at this party because Squad Zero got a rare candy. That's essential. That's essential. That rare candy is going to give them a very early Greninja evolution. It's going to be so good. Unfortunately, they only have Psychic Energy. So they can't really use it. Squad Zero is going to put down the Psychic Energy. They're trying to figure out who to give it to. You should give it to the Froakie in front. Right? That way you can retreat into whatever you want next turn. Unless they're predicting it's going to get KO'd. But it kind of can't. Yeah, if that's Eevee Party, there's no way it's getting KO'd next turn. Squad Zero is basically deciding right now if they want to retreat that Froakie or try to save its life. That's kind of the decision. Either way, it's not attacking next turn. They don't have the right energy. So they're running calculations. Like, all right, if that turns into a Flareon, in 2 turns, it can do 130 damage. And with an Eevee bag, 140. And that could defeat us with Cape, potentially. And this is all the things they're thinking about. They're doing calculations. In the end, they decide the best thing to do is to evolve the Greninja in the back. They're going to do a little bit of poke damage to the Eevee out in front. You know, start threatening it a little bit. Start putting some damage on it. But they gave the energy to the Sylveon, which is interesting. Because they have Psychic Energy, they realize that Sylveon is going to be their main attacker until they can roll Water Energy. So it makes sense to give energy to Sylveon, because it's the only Pokemon that can attack, right? They didn't get Giratina, and Greninja can't use Psychic Energy. And Froakie only needs 1 energy. So if next turn that Eevee on the side of double critical, if it evolved into a Flareon, right? You could always attach a Psychic Energy to the Froakie and attack it for 30 damage, because it's super effective. But it's better to put it on the Sylveon, because then if they knock out your Froakie, Sylveon can come in and start attacking. So I think that was a good move, a very smart move. I think Squad Zero made the right choice. It was coming down to the clock a little bit there, but thinking about it, I can't think of a better move than the one they made. And it took me even more time than they did to figure out why that was the right move. So I think that was good. I think Squad Zero is really playing insanely well right now. And we're seeing double critical, they're not quite drawing what they need. They've got the Sylveon too, but they don't seem sure what to evolve, what to play, what moves to make. And that Greninja's definitely got to be scary. You never want Frogs and Ponies to get an early Greninja, because Greninja's so powerful. Alright, so they put a Fire Energy on the Eevee in the back. There are some tricks you can use with this deck. There are some tricks where you can retreat an Eevee to discard the Fire Energy, and then use Flareon's ability to put that energy you discarded back onto the other Flareon. So doing this weird energy, like, alternating thing between the Eevees is actually really good for the Eevee party deck. Unfortunately, Squad Zero keeps rolling Psychic Energy, which isn't great. And in addition to that, right, they did not draw they did not draw something useful. So Sylveon remains the only Pokemon that can attack. They only have this Psychic Energy that they just can't really use right now, because Froakie was forced into the active slot when the game started. All they can do is just peck and poke. Just peck and poke, that's it, with Greninja, and hope for the best. Things are looking kind of dire for Squad Zero right now, because like I said, Double Critical has the ability to retreat that Eevee and evolve the one in the back. Yes, that Eevee will go down to probably a Greninja poke, but Double Critical doesn't care. They'll have a sweeping Flareon on the field. They can just win the game with that, So it's definitely a scary situation for Double Critical. Look at that! Double Critical only has 2 cards left in their deck. They've drawn their entire deck. That's pretty lucky. We talked about this. Luck comes and it goes. Squad Zero was very lucky last game. Now, Double Critical just drew their whole deck. And there's the move. They retreated the Eevee to move the Fire Energy to the discard pile, and then use Flareon's ability to get the energy back, giving Flareon 2 energy in 1 turn. And now, Flareon can attack, it can knock out Froakie, and give a prize point to Double Critical. And we're seeing another one evolve. They're evolving that Eevee in the back as well, because, they don't want it to go down to a Froakie, potentially, a Greninja poke. They don't want to give up a prize point. And then we see Eevee bag get played to heal the Flareons, just in case. Very safe, very mature plays from Double Critical. They're doing the best they can to win this game and make sure there's nothing Squad Zero can do to come back. I don't know, it's looking pretty rough for Squad Zero. Psyduck's a little nervous. Psyduck's sad. Psyduck wanted Squad Zero to win, didn't you? But Double Critical's a great team, and they're playing very well. Well, look at that. They healed up their Pokemon. They've got a great position. Squad Zero only has seconds to decide who they're sending in. They're sending in Eevee. That's probably a sacrifice play. Another Cyrus that they can't really use right now. I mean, they could. We could see one of those Cyruses get played maybe on a back Flareon. Try to draw it in, try to waste time, buy a little time. We could see a play like that potentially. But if they do that, then they can't use the Cyrus later, right? It's a tough call. There's one really clever play we could see, and that's if... Oh, they're doing it! Okay, so Squad Zero is about to do the clever play. Watch this. This is pretty cool. No, that's not the clever play. The other one... What are you doing? No! Maybe this is also clever? I don't know. Maybe this is also clever. What I would have done... I would have Greninja'd the EVEX and then knocked it out with Sylveon for 2 prize points. Boom. Instant 2 prize points. That's what I would have done. This continuation doesn't knock out the Flareon. But maybe they're trying to trap it so it can't retreat. Right? I mean, Flareon's got 2 retreat costs. It's very hard to retreat that Flareon. You know? Maybe they're trying to trap it. Freeze it in place. Maybe that's the play. Maybe Squad Zero's big braining me right now. Is Squad Zero big braining me right now? Have they thought of something that I didn't? Oh, this is actually really clever. That Flareon can't escape. It can't run away. It would have to do 20 damage to itself to retreat. And if it does, it'll get knocked out by Greninja. That's smart. That's smart. But I still think... I'm not sure. The benefit to doing this continuation, right, instead of sniping the EVEX like I wanted, is that Squad Zero stopped themselves from getting attacked this turn. Because if they had done the thing I wanted to do, they could have just got taken out this turn, right, with Flareon plus an EV bag, and they could have lost the game. So I think actually they're way smarter than me. I think Squad Zero made the right choice, because they prevented Flareon from attacking this turn. The problem was, even though this bought time, they're running into the same problem now, right? They're running into the exact same problem. Now what do? You're still facing the same Flareon threat from last turn. What do? I don't know. They're thinking about whether or not they want to use Cyrus or Oak. If Oak... They're not going for Cyrus. They're not going for Cyrus. They're just using Oak. They got a Mars, but unfortunately they can't play the Mars. The Mars would have been great. The Mars would have been amazing, but they can't play it. Oh, Squad Zero going for a really big brain play here. They retreated Sylveon into Eevee. I think the plan there was they were worried that Sylveon would get Eevee bagged, right? That Sylveon would get Eevee bagged plus Flareon, it would get knocked out in one hit. So they retreated into Eevee. They're going to sacrifice Eevee because it's only worth 1 prize point. And then that'll buy them another turn to use Greninja to do more damage. I'm not sure if that wins them the game, but it definitely saves them from getting KO'd this turn. And then they put the cape on Sylveon just in case they played Sabrina. Because if they play Sabrina, they can't also play Trainer Red, right? And then Flareon plus Trainer Red plus their remaining Eevee bag would not KO Sylveon because they can't play Trainer Red because they played Sabrina. So Squad Zero is accounting for every possible combination of cards that could exist. They don't know what's in their opponent's deck. It could be anything. It could be anything. So Squad Zero is accounting for everything. I don't know. Are they being too careful? Or are they being 300 IQ? I guess we'll find out. Alright, so we've seen that the 20 health Flareon does retreat. It's going to have to use a remaining Eevee bag, unless I've lost count of the Eevee bags, in order to heal itself, or it will go down to Greninja next turn. I'm pretty sure Flareon attacks here. You kind of have to. The question is, are they going to heal their backline Flareon or not? That's got to be what they're thinking about. Nope, they're just going for Fire Spin. That's 130 damage, barbecuing that Eevee, knocking it out. Here we go. This is the end game. This is the end game that Squad Zero has been prepping for. This is it. It all comes down to this. Alright, the Water Shuriken is going to snipe the Flareon in the back, taking it out and giving Squad Zero 2 prize points, which is very nice. But now, Squad Zero needs to knock out this frontline Flareon, and they play Mars. This is the card they've been aiming for with all those draws. Mars will reduce Shadox's hand to just 1 card. They'll be able to draw 1 more next turn, so 2 cards. The hope is that they do not get Trainer Red and Eevee back. They do not get the tech they need to win the game. So no Sabrina, or no combination of Red and Eevee back. There's a Mars, which is good, that's not a Trainer Red, so it looks like Sylveon will live. But Flareon doesn't have to be the Pokemon in the active slot. Because by reverse Marsing Squad Zero, they got rid of Cyrus. Cyrus is gone. And now Leafeon EX comes forward. Flareon retreats to the back line nice and safe. Leafeon starts building up energy. Leafeon can start swinging next turn. Leafeon can start swinging. But Flareon can't use its ability anymore, or it'll put itself in KO range of the Shurikens. So this is a very intense match, right? Both players have deleted each other's hands. They each only have 1 card in their hand. We've got this matchup of the Eevees. Wow, red card. That is useless in this situation. That would help your opponent. Yeah, a little bit of a choice. Do you, like, target the Flareon or the Sylveon? Obviously, you target the Flareon, so it can't use its ability again without an Eevee bag. Sylveon attacks. That's 70 damage to the Leafeon, putting Leafeon in threat range 2. It looks like Squad Zero has checkmate, but it's not that simple. Leafeon uses Forest Breath. Might as well. That doesn't forecast anything yet. Now the real strategy. Is there some way Flareon can achieve a KO this turn? There technically is a combination of cards that could pull it off. But Shadox does not have them. They go into their own Sylveon instead and are just trying to stall. But stall only works if they can heal that Flareon. Maybe they shouldn't have used Combustion last turn. Eevee bag, there it is. The final Eevee bag was played. That's going to give Flareon just enough health to be able to survive. Now Flareon can live a ninja. It's fine. But is it enough? That's not Cyrus. Squad Zero did not draw Cyrus. So they don't win yet. They don't win yet. They're playing to avoid a tie. They're playing to try to win the game, to end the game. It's very tricky. You know, they're circling each other, trying to play around each other's checkmates. You know, Squad Zero doesn't want to get Sabrina'd. Now they have an answer for that. Water Shuriken goes off on Flareon. It's going to go down next turn. They are out of Eevee bags. They played both Eevee bags. No more Eevee bags. It's already got a cape. Sylveon attacks the Sylveon. And if Sabrina gets played, they have Giratina who can tank it. It's impossible. It's impossible for anything to KO the Giratina, because even if somehow Flareon got enough energy, maybe through like Dawn or something like that, you couldn't play Sabrina and Dawn, first of all. Flareon can't use its ability, or it just instantly dies, right? Wait. It just used its ability. Hold on. Yeah, GG. Flareon knocks itself out. Squad Zero played that amazingly well. I was saying, oh, why didn't they go for the free kill? They could have sniped the EVEX. I'm so smart. I'm an idiot. Well, I'm not an idiot. I'm a decently good player. They are amazing. They are amazing. What they did was they attacked a Flareon that they could not KO in order to stall for 1 turn, to force a situation where they could then next turn stall for a 2nd turn, to force another situation where they could go in with Sylveon, burn the Eevee bag, prevent the red, use Mars, and take the win from a lost position. This is one of the best games I've ever seen Squad Zero play. This is one of the best games I've seen them play. Their position was lost. They were going to get swept by Flareon, but they played like geniuses. And this is why Frogs and Ponies is so hard to play. How many of you watching would have made that move? How many of you watching would have Cyrus'd the other Flareon to stall it in that very particular way, and then done the other thing 2 turns in a row? That was wild. I can't even describe what they did. That was so good. It was so good. All right, we got to update the scoreboard. Squad Zero is now going 3-1. Now, we know from experience, from watching Squad Zero, that they can get a little overconfident. That is their one weakness, that they can get overconfident. I am hoping that this win streak does not make them overconfident. But so far, Ace has 3-1 games in a row. The only game that Squad Zero lost, the only game that they lost, was a game they couldn't have possibly won, Charizard into Oricorio. But you need 10 to win. 3's not enough, and we've seen it before. Squad Zero does sometimes go on losing streaks after they've won a few games. They get a little overconfident. They do silly things, sometimes with Snorlaxes. We've seen that happen before. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But right now, Squad Zero is looking amazing, and I am going to take a bite of my food because it is getting very cold. Little pesto chicken penne here. Mostly homemade. Mostly. One of the ingredients is not. Well, 1.5. It depends what you consider homemade as far as pasta goes. I didn't make the pasta. Oh, it's so good. Perfect meal for this. Give me the energy to keep casting. Alright, Squad Zero's got an amazing start. This is a pretty good start. They've got Froakie. They've got Eevee. They've got Giratina. I'm actually surprised they put the first energy on Froakie. Normally I would put the psychic energy on Giratina. But I think they're fishing for Greninja Rush. I think they're trying for Greninja Rush because they got the rare candy in hand. They red carded the opponent. Wow. And went for flop. Yeah. They're fishing for GG. Let me explain what they just did because this is a little bit complicated. I can't believe they're making crazy IQ moves from turn 2. They attacked the 90 health Eevee for 10 damage instead of building up Giratina. The reason they did that is they are planning on drawing Greninja next turn using Sylveon and the rare candy they have in hand and the water energy in their energy zone to do 60 damage plus an extra 20 from the ability. So 10 plus 20 plus 60 is exactly 90. They'll pick off the Eevee EX and take a prize point. That's their plan. They're already thinking multiple turns in advance and going for an early KO, but it was just denied. It was denied. That play was a little aggressive, to be fair. It was genius, but that doesn't mean it was good. Just because it was genius doesn't mean it was good. Because remember, that was a psychic energy. They could have put that energy on Giratina and bellowed, giving Giratina 2 energy, which would have been great in this position. Honestly, might have been better if they had done that. I'm not 100% sure, but might have been better if they had done that. Still, had their gambit worked, they would have won the game, and it was backed up by, a red card, which could have denied them stuff. So it wasn't a bad gambit, but it didn't work. So, there's that. Squad Zero plays Pokeball. They did not get the Greninja they were looking for, so their gambit completely failed. Not only would they have been unable to KO this Pokemon anyway, because it evolved into Sylveon, but also they didn't get the Greninja. And now they're stuck with this awkward water energy and don't know what to do. Whoops! So brilliant play by Squad Zero. It just was maybe not the right play, but it was brilliant. A brilliant mistake by Squad Zero. I've got to roast them a little bit. I glaze them quite a lot, I've been told. So I have to roast them every now and then to keep it fair. Right? Yeah. Squad Zero is putting down the second Froakie on the bench. This is something I see very good players do with the Frogs and Ponies deck. They never over-index on Eevee. If you can get 2 Froakies, you want 2 Froakies. That's better than the extra draw. Because then you can go for double Greninja, which gives you a lot of options. But it all depends on drawing Greninja, right? You have to draw Greninja. They've got 2 rare candies in hand, that's great. They get red carded, all that goes away. So, it's a risky business. They're taking a bit of a chance. And this is kind of like one of the things I said. Squad Zero can get a little overconfident when they're on a win streak, which is why we've seen them get multiple games up and then start crashing. And we've seen them be 6 games down and start winning. It's like they are the main character team. They are the anime hero MC team. When they're in a bad position, it's like they are powered by flashbacks and friendship and love and everything, and they just glow with aura. I don't know, but when they're winning, they're like overconfident MC who meets rival character for the first time and gets thrashed. So it's one thing to work on, maybe a little bit. It's just Squad Zero can get a little bit too confident sometimes. We see Eevee get some energy. It's preparing to attack. One shot that Froakie, and that's gotta hurt. If Squad Zero had played the Eevee last turn instead of the Froakie, they could have evolved it, drawn more cards, but they didn't. And it makes sense that they didn't, looking at their hand. But, like I said, it was a risky play. Right? It made sense with the rare candies. You got double rare candies, of course you want double Froakie. But it was a risky play. And they keep taking risks this game, which is very unlike them. They like to play very safe, very secure, but now they're taking risks. And they're not working out. And that's the thing about risks. Sometimes they don't pay out. Squad Zero doesn't really have a lot of good options here. Giratina can Bellow. And then potentially attack with a Greninja poke if they draw it next turn to knock out the Leafeon. But then that would put Giratina in range of being KO'd by the Flareon, and they'd lose the game. So it's not looking so good for Squad Zero. It's not looking great. It's not looking fantastic. They made some very aggressive moves that did not work. It just did not work. You know, they maybe got a little overeager. Maybe a little, yeah, we got 3 wins. We could knock them out right now. We could knock them out on turn 2, but that's hard to do against a good team. You go for those cheesy plays, those hyper aggressive Froakie plus plays. You're gonna lose some games. You're gonna lose some games like that. We're gonna see Leafeon be able to use cape put on Flareon. That is actually pretty important because it'll give Flareon a little bit of extra health combined with an Eevee bag. That move only makes sense if they play Eevee bag because Flareon still gets knocked out by Yep, called it. Combined with an Eevee bag, it gives Flareon enough health that it can survive Greninja poke plus Giratina attack. Because that was really the only way Squad Zero was going to win. If they used Greninja to hit the Flareon and then knock it out with a Giratina doing 150 damage with Cyrus. But now they can't. So they don't really have a way to win anymore, per se. It's not really a winning move that I can see. But they've thwarted my expectations before. We've seen them pull off unexpected wins before. Let's see what they can do. I am excited to see what happens. Squad Zero is thinking. They're trying to find a way out of this. I don't see a way out of this. I don't see anything they can do. Because Giratina will go down to Flareon the second it attacks. There's no way to one-shot the Flareon. There's no way to one-shot the Leafeon without making yourself vulnerable to Flareon. And because they've already dropped a Froakie, they lose if Giratina goes down. So it's kind of like they're stuck. I think there's a word for it in chess where every move you make is bad. Like Zugzwayne or something. Somebody who knows chess can type it in the chat. Something like Zugzwayne. But any move they make is like a forced blunder. There's nothing they can do. So they're just, using Greninja to throw some poke on the Flareon. Right? Throw some poke on the Flareon, put it in Cyrus range. Eevee uses Collect, and their plan is they'll sacrifice this Eevee, because it's only 1 prize point, and then knock out Flareon next turn. That's the plan. That's the play. That's the move. Now this could be stopped with another Eevee bag. If we see another Eevee bag heal up that Flareon, the move is stopped. The move is, finished. But do they have another Eevee bag? I don't know. Those things are expensive. you seen the price of plushies lately? Ow, ow, ow. Okay, I'll stop. Anyway, if they don't have another Eevee bag, then it's gonna mean that Flareon will remain vulnerable to Giratina. We could see Eevee retreat into Giratina. Greninja Poke plus. Oh, Mars! Boom! It was a very smart Mars by Shadox, but that's the thing about trying to Mars a deck that runs 2 Cyruses and have already played most of its cards. It's hard to get rid of both of the Cyruses. Yeah, this is looking very good for Shadox. This is looking very good for Shadox because Giratina is going to have to snipe. It's going to have to snipe that Flareon. No choice. You know, you're sniping that Flareon. That's the move. But then they could evolve another Flareon and just destroy Giratina. Until that cape was played. Now, thanks to that cape, Flareon might not have enough damage to knock out the Giratina. The second Flareon, not this one. Sorry, I'm thinking like 2 turns ahead to try to explain why Squad Zero is making the moves that they're making. Because that's how far ahead these players are thinking. Both teams. This is a serious competition. Alright, this is the GGB, and only one team will qualify for playoffs. Of course, they're all thinking multiple turns ahead. This Eevee has enough energy to evolve into Flareon and attack. With Trainer Card Red, it'll knock out Giratina. But without Trainer Card Red, it doesn't have enough damage. Didn't have enough. Leafeon comes forward, and the backline Eevee evolves into a regular Leafeon. It's powered up by Leafeon EX, but there are no moves. Eevee bag? It's not enough. They're just going down swinging. They're just going down swinging. Shadox did not have the cards they needed to finish this off, and Squad Zero does. I don't know how the heck they got out of this. I don't know how they did this, but despite overextending and making an overly aggressive play early on, like twice, they still won. They still won with brilliant plays. Squad Zero is on fire today. This is the best I've seen them since the beginning. They played this well when they were top of the division. When the season 2 of Global Gym Battles just started, they were playing this well. I can't believe this. They're 4-1 right now against an amazing team, and they're playing really well. Like, you see me struggling to describe why they're making the moves that they're doing, because I'm like, okay, in 2 turns, this is going to happen, and they're worried about that card, and this other card, and that's why they made that move. I can barely keep up. I can barely narrate it, and yet they're making these decisions in real time. Oh my goodness, this is wild. This is good Pokemon Pocket. This is quality play. Ace is on a 4-game win streak right now. Squad Zero has not lost a single member. Meanwhile, Double Critical has had 2 of their teammates sent to the Shadow Realm. They're defeated. They can't come back. But if you think it's over, you would be wrong. Squad Zero has come back from worse odds than this, and so have other teams. Unfortunately, against Squad Zero. They've blown some situations like this in the past. So it's still anybody's game, but Squad Zero has put on an amazing showing. If they can keep at that level of play, that super IQ thinking 3 turns ahead level of play, they can definitely win this. But it's really hard to keep up with that level of play. Alright, I'm going to check the chat real quick, see if we have any questions. I don't see any on Twitch. I don't see any on YouTube. Alright, we're going to go into the next game. And by the way, give me a shout out at any point in time. I will try to address it with 10 minutes plus however long it takes for the next game to end. Because I like reading everybody's comments and knowing how you're doing, knowing how I'm doing. Alright, so because of the rules of the contest, right, Ace has to keep using Frogs and Ponies. They're not allowed to change decks. This is the deck they locked in before the set started. They've got to use Frogs and Ponies until it's defeated. And then Ace is defeated. So Ace is Frogs and Ponies. Ace lives and dies with that Eevee, those Frogs, and any necessary ponies. And we've got, who do we have from Double Critical? Misty Gott. Misty from Double Critical is trying to end Ace's reign of terror with Giratina Darkrai. This is actually interesting. Is Giratina Darkrai versus Giratina Gren with Draw? That's a cool matchup. Legit, that's a cool matchup. I'm not sure who wins this. This will be interesting to see. Does Greninja beat this? Or not? I'm not sure. You'd think Greninja would be super effective against this, right? Because it can snipe the backline stuff. And, you know, Darkrai Greninja hates being... Darkrai Giratina. Darktina, yeah. Darktina hates being sniped with Cyruses. Hates it. But, on the other hand, this deck doesn't really have big damage, right? It like does 70 damage, 80 damage. Giratina plus Gren is the only big damage, and it's hard to do that more than once with this deck. So, I don't know. I feel like Darktina might have an edge here. We'll have to see. And there's the famous Nightmare Aura poke that we all know, love, and dread. Their Giratina powers up as well. And an unhelpful red card is drawn by Ace. You don't really want a red card when your opponent has 3 cards anyway. I'm going to take a bite of this pasta. Delicious. So good. I always end up making the chicken too dry because I like to cook it enough, you know, so that there's no salmonella or anything, right? I overcook my chicken. And this time what I did though, I cut it up into little pieces so that I could fry each one perfectly. Much better. Perfectly juicy, not dry at all. I used a thermometer, made sure it was, you know, cooked to the right temperature. Quality chicken pesto. Anyway, Squad Zero is thinking about their moves, and honestly, I'm not sure what they're thinking about. Probably just trying to calculate what their win con is. I don't know. I mean, the only question to ask is, do you use Collect with Eevee, or do you power up Giratina? The obvious move is to power up Giratina. What? They played red card? Well, is that like a bluff? That's either play down or a bluff. Normally when you play red card, no, it's play down. Yeah, so that red card did nothing, quote unquote, but it was actually worse than nothing because you guaranteed that the opponent would draw useful cards like they're doing now. They'll draw a Pokeball, basic Pokemon, all right? Because if they didn't already have, if they had those cards already, they would have played them. Therefore, they don't. Therefore, you're giving it to them. So that red card gifted cards, good cards, to Double Critical. Squad Zero basically said, hey, Double Critical, have some free cards. Why did they do that? Why did Squad Zero do that? Probably to get rid of red card from their hand. They didn't need it, they didn't want it, and maybe they don't like their hand and they're trying to, you know, trick Double Critical to red carding them back, potentially. Or maybe they're just worried about getting red carded and want to get rid of that so they don't redraw it. I don't know. There's a lot of things that could be happening here, but either way, Squad Zero just drew a Sylveon. A little bit risky to play that, but you kind of have to in this position, right? Yeah, they need the draw. They don't have any Froakies on the field. They kind of need that. Alright, Sylveon grabs an Eevee and a... Oh no, Froakies! This is not great. This is not looking great for Ace. With no Froakies, there's no way to tech to a Greninja anytime soon. Squad Zero is running out of time, and they don't have a way to defeat Darkrai, and Sylveon is probably going to go down to the Darkrai. It's looking pretty bad. Yeah, it's looking pretty scary for Squad Zero. They're thinking about putting a second Eevee on the bench. Remember, Frogs and Ponies does not like to put a second Eevee on the bench. It doesn't like to do that. But you do make the move if you have to, if you need the extra draw. And since they haven't gotten any Froakies yet, and since their Sylveon might go down, I agree. I think it's the right move here. I think with that Eevee on the bench, hopefully they can get a little bit more draw. Putting energy on the Eevee, though, not something I expected. I don't know what that was. Maybe they're worried about getting Sabrina'd here, potentially. We see Mars go off. That's going to reduce them to just 3 cards. But luckily, one of those cards is a Pokeball. That's a Froakie. Hopefully that'll help Squad Zero get what they need, but they don't have any Greninjas anymore. They don't have any rare candy, so even if they get the Froakie, could be a while. Could be a while. Oh, and they got the second Froakie. So now they have the Froakies, but they're, yeah, no, that's bad. Oh, that feels bad. I feel so bad for Squad Zero. They set up for the Sylveon evolution and then got Mars denied. That was a crisp Mars by double critical. You might say that that Mars went double critical. Ah, I think it was a good pun. Yeah, that was a damaging Mars. That was a devastating Mars. Mars isn't even a planet anymore. It's a star. And it looks like Squad Zero, all they can do is just power up with Giratina. They're afraid to go in because they can't knock out the Darkrai. They don't have any real way of doing damage to it. Sylveon is just going to go down. I think what Squad Zero is hoping for here is that they either draw an Oak or another Sylveon next turn and are able to use it in combination, potentially, with the Giratina to knock out Darkrai. If they could do that, that's potentially game-winning right there. Sylveon goes down. Giratina's got to go forward. I mean, that's the only move. It's the only move. I don't know why they're thinking about this. What? Why? What? I don't understand why Froakie is standing there. It didn't matter. They didn't get the card they needed. They've lost, almost certainly. But, yeah, I feel like Giratina should have gone in there. Either way, it does seem that Squad Zero has finally been defeated here. Maybe I'm calling the game a little early, but what can they do? Excuse me. Throat's a little dry. Some water. I am out of water. I will remedy that at some point. But first, this is just a KO. Yeah. Yeah, just it's kind of the honorable surrender, you know, where you've got to they don't want to hit the concede button, they just want to give it to the opponent. Respect, well played. That's going to be double critical second win, and Squad Zero's ace is finally sent to the bottom of the poker deck. Alright, that's going to be a win for... I didn't catch their name. Was that Shadox, or was Shadox defeated? I think Shadox was defeated. First was Poi. Then I think we got Shadox, right? Misty. This was Misty. This was Misty. Alright, so I'm going to update this. Game 6 was won by Misty of double critical. Alright, very nice. So double critical's trying to come back, but they're a full player behind. And now that Ace is defeated, Squad Zero can send in whoever they want. They can send in any member of the other 4 people they have registered. Meanwhile, remember, double critical's down to 3 people. Down to 3. And they can't change decks. They are locked into this deck. Alright, while they are deciding who to pick, I will be right back. I'm just going to run right over there to that room, grab some water, and then we're going to answer any questions that are in the chat. Just give me 1 second. My throat is so dry. Yeah, I think I'm a little allergic today. Alright, let's take a look at the Twitch chat. I don't see any questions in Twitch chat. Let's take a look at the YouTube chat. I don't see any questions in YouTube chat. Alright, then we'll get into the next game. And Squad Zero has chosen... They haven't chosen yet. I see a couple of options. I see a couple of options that they're considering, but they haven't made a decision yet, so I won't say anything. Who will they bring forward? This is very exciting. You know, Squad Zero is doing well, but this is still anybody's game. No team even has 5 points yet. And you need 10. You need to knock out 10 decks to win. Failing that, you don't go to the playoffs. You're done. Your season is over. You've lost. It's over. I really hope Squad Zero doesn't lose, and then well, watch me say all that, and they're like, Sneaky, why are you hitting it home? But yeah, for the folks watching, I mean, those are the stakes. Whichever team loses this is done. That's it. It's very real. That's why I'm streaming, despite wanting nothing more than to just lie down. Because this is the most important one of their games. I still don't see a stream from them. Multiple players have muted. It looks like some folks are talking and trying to figure out who they're going. Oh, there it is. It's Random Ways, PLL Invitational Champion, Ursi Day Champion. The Random Ways, I think, last week made second in the Ursi Day again. Frequent, top everything, the GOAT, Random Ways, one of the best players in the world. Oh my goodness. Squad Zero's bringing the heat. Yeah, they're ready for this. What? Oh, and Random Ways' phone is slightly a different size, so give me 1 second to fix that. By the way, huge props to Ace for having a very nice and beautiful screen and streaming it on excellent Wi-Fi. We appreciate you in the streaming world when you do that. Alright, Random Ways is going up against Misty from Double Critical. Random Ways is good. Random Ways is like part of the reason I'm any good at Pocket, I have to say, is from talking with Random Ways. Random Ways is amazing. Oh, wow, a Buzzhole deck in this meta? Really? That is funny. That is funny. So Buzzhole is actually an amazing counter to Giratina Darkrai. It does a fantastic job because it's got bench sniping, big damage, super effective against Darkrai itself. It's a great deck. Yeah, you see the cards wiggling? That's how you know we're watching Random Ways. Nobody else does this. Nobody else is, I don't know. And Random Ways isn't like an anxious dude. Random Ways is chill. Random Ways is like the most chill person ever to talk to. And you'll occasionally just hear his daughter just in the background doing something. But like, when Random Ways is playing Pocket, you see the tapping. Like, I know what I'm doing already. I got my next 2 turns. Pre-move, Pokemon Pocket, let me pre-move. Random Ways knows what's going on. Oh, this is good. But Poison Barb on Giratina with Nihilego is an amazing start for Misty. That could actually sabotage Random Ways' whole day right there. Oh, Random Ways gets the Buzzhole. That's awesome. But yeah, it's a tough position because, you know, Poison Barb, that's going to be 20 damage twice with Darkrai Poke. That's a lot of damage. That's a lot of damage. You know, you got to think that that's 60 damage in 1 turn, and no one's even attacked you yet. That's a lot of damage. Kind of wish you had a Guzma in this position. But if anybody can out-puzzle this, it's Random Ways. Now, the obvious move to make here would just be to give the energy to Formosa and attack anyway. Just ignore the Poison Barb. You're not going to go down this turn, and maybe shuffle retreat into the second Formosa next turn, or physically retreat to ditch the energy so you could Lusamine it next turn. Yeah, that's actually a cool thing you can do with this deck. You don't actually have to use Celesteela to retreat. You can retreat normally on purpose, to lose energy on purpose, so that Lusamine can pick it up and give it to a different Pokemon later. That's a pro strat, by the way. And I think that's what Random Ways is going for. I'm just going to adjust the screen ever so slightly because I want to see the health of those Pokemon. There we go. We can see that it looks like a Formosa poked that Darkrai in the back, softening it up, right? Trying to get it ready for... Oh! Red card was played. Didn't affect much. Though it did get rid of the second Formosa. which could be pretty impactful. You know, that could be big, because now, without that second Formosa, this Formosa is going to go down unless you switch to something. Guzma came in too late. Came in too late, because you can't play Guzma and Erica at the same time. Oh, that's brutal. This was a travesty of bad luck for Random Ways. Yeah, getting red carded in that position. Getting red carded in that position was rough. It was not something you'd expect to happen. Red carded at 3 cards. The opponents might have known from how long they were thinking about it. Who knows? Who knows? And Random Ways could have put the second Formosa on the bench, and maybe should have. Maybe should have, arguably. I'd say should have put the second Formosa on the bench. I would have. But, you know, keeping it in hand has a lot of benefits, a lot of flexibility. You could go double Buzzhole. There's some things you could do. So it wasn't necessarily a bad move to not do that. But Random Ways is in a tough spot. Alright, we see Ultra Thrusters is going off. That's going to mean that Formosa is not discarding the energy, so it won't be loose amenable later. And Celesteela itself is coming in, probably to just tank a hit for a turn. And there Erica gets played, healing up the Formosa. Good move. We're probably going to see something like another rotate with maybe a Guzma next turn to get rid of that Poison Barb, potentially. We could also see something really crazy. Celesteela could cycle in Formosa, who retreats into Buzzhole. But you can't play Lusamine. Wait, does Random Ways not know? You can't play Lusamine if Pokemon's not KO'd, Random Ways. You do know that, right? You do know that, right? Hopefully. 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 Okay, good. Random Ways knows. I got scared for a second there because Random Ways was tapping Lusamine, and I was like, you can't play that. You didn't lose a Pokemon yet. Alright, we see the next Formosa go down. But the energy is put on Buzzhole. Wow. And cycles into the Formosa that still has energy. It looks like Random Ways isn't even going to use Lusamine. Random Ways is just attacking all of the Pokemon, doing all of the damage, making sure that there's a Cyrus target for later for Buzzhole. Now, Random Ways is just setting up a win, just setting up that layup, ready for the perfect shot, because an audience of people watching a Pokemon stream love basketball references. Someone does! I guarantee there's at least one basketball-loving, Pokemon-loving person out there. I'm not actually a big basketball fan at all. That's just the metaphor that came to mind and it felt right. Well, Double Critical has been kind of getting, like, yoinked around by the Formosas all game. They had a really good red card. You know, that red card was pretty damaging. But now, Giratina is basically knocking itself out to take out this Formosa. I mean, we know Buzzhole is coming in. Buzzhole is gonna, you know, rocket punch that Giratina out of here, and there's no way Darkrai can do enough damage to stop it. This looks pretty good. This looks pretty good for Random Ways. This looks like a nice, clean win. Random Ways trolling, pretending to put the energy on Celesteela. I think Random Ways just likes giving me a heart attack. Lusamine is played. I don't know why it's played. Oh, play down. It's probably play down. Lusamine is played just passing the energy to Formosa in the back. Making it, you know, more likely that if you get Mars this turn, you can draw the Cyrus. Because the Cyrus could be game-winning if, for example, actually, come to think of it, it's really hard for Misty to survive here. I don't even think you need the Cyrus, but if somehow Misty finds a way to survive, then the Cyrus could be game-winning. Oh, speaking of Team Rocket, that was a savage Team Rocket from Double Critical. That could have won them the game. That could have flipped everything. That could have flipped everything. But unfortunately, it just flipped tails. And as a result, it does seem like Random Ways is going to win this. Yeah, with the right series of moves, it is game. Can Random Ways, multiple pocket champion, find the right series of moves? I think he can. Yeah, I think Random Ways can. By cycling into Formosa and then retreating, Buzzhole is able to refresh Big Beat. It's gonna punch Darkrai with a super effective Bug Fist, and Darkrai goes down, giving Random Ways the win. Squad Zero is going 5-2. That was an amazing counter pick for the Giratina Darkrai deck. That was a fantastic counter pick. Buzzhole does very well against Giratina Darkrai. Game 7 goes to Random Ways from Squad Zero. That was a good counter pick. Like, that was a high quality counter pick. It's so hard to beat that with Giratina Darkrai. Because the Formosas just tackle your back line, get everything in range of Buzzhole, and Buzzhole sweeps. And there's nothing you can do. It's so powerful. Double Critical played that really well. That red card on 3 cards was crazy good. It almost sabotaged Random Ways. The Team Rocket was good too. I mean, in another world, in another quantum reality, that coin had flipped heads twice. Not super likely, but, you know, we could have been looking at something. We could have been looking at something. I don't know. But they played very well. They did absolutely the best they could. Double Critical did the best they could. Ultimately, that was just a great counter pick deck by Squad Zero. Alright, so remember, Random Ways is locked into this deck. They have to keep playing it until it loses. Meanwhile, Misty goes to their second deck, which is Frogs and Ponies. What a surprise! They're playing the best deck! I never would have guessed! So we're going to see Frogs and Ponies versus Formosa Buzzhole. That's actually an interesting matchup. Because Buzzhole kind of fell off around the time that Frogs and Ponies got big. I do think that Frogs and Ponies does counter Formosa Buzzhole, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm not 100% sure. It's a tough call to make, because Formosa can get active much more quickly, but Frogs and Ponies can start doing the mid-range damage, right? The 70 damage, the 80 damage, a lot faster. So it's a tough call to see which deck is better. I do think Frogs and Ponies has an edge. I think Misty's second deck is a good, answer to this. I'm just going to take one more bite of my food, because despite, you know, having been traveling for like 29 hours, I'm only allowed one bite every 2 games or something. Hashtag streamer life. I hope you're all enjoying this and you're having fun. If someone's enjoying this stream, just let me know in the comments. That makes everything worthwhile. That's good chicken pesto. Alright, so. Oh, Mars, interesting. Yeah, Double Critical got a decent setup. They got 2 EVs, they got their Froakie. Might have over-indexed on EVs a little bit. Something like that probably means that they got double Sylveon, so very good time to play Mars. I 100% agree with that Mars. Like, the second, you know, Frogs and Ponies goes double EV, you want a Mars. Double Critical did that to Squad Zero last game. Or last time they were in this position, it worked really well. And Squad Zero is not one to get attacked by a strategy without learning it and using it back against their opponent. The reason that it's so good to Mars when they go double EV like this is because they've locked themselves out of a bench slot, right? And odds are you're denying them the Sylveon that they probably had in their hand. But Double Critical locked out. They lucked out. They drew the Sylveon back. They drew the other Sylveon back. Even though that was an amazing and very sharp play by Squad Zero, luck kind of undid it. And that's fair. I mean, Squad Zero's been a little bit lucky so far. The Team Rocket flipped tails, for example, though I think it would had to have flipped a few heads to matter, but, you know, still. Oh, wow. Okay, this is more than just luck. Double Critical got a double critical luck roll. And their red carding, I don't know if that was a good red card, actually. Double Critical likes to spend their red cards very aggressively, I've noticed. It was good last game. This game, I don't know if it did anything. This game, I'm not so sure. They really like spending these. Random Ways is tapping the screen. You can see the little ripples, impatiently waiting to make the move. That's Random Ways for you. And Fairy Wind goes off, dealing massive damage to Celesteela. I gotta say, it's looking pretty grim right now. It's looking pretty grim for Randomways. I'm not sure if there's anything they could do. Ultura Thrusters goes off. Buzzhole comes to the front. And we're probably going to see Punch get used here. I actually don't know if it was the right time to play Leaf Cape or not. That's, there's a chance of that getting Guzma'd. I don't think Frogs and Ponies runs Guzma, though. So, probably safe. And that's going to put Sylveon right in range for Big Beat to knock it out next turn. Frogs and Ponies doesn't usually run a lot of healing items, so we probably won't see that Sylveon heal. But Greninja is going to keep poking. It's not going to let up. It's going to keep harassing that Buzzhole, trying to do as much damage as possible. Sylveon might even go down here, confident that it can take the Buzzhole down with it. With, attacks from the other Sylveon plus Greninja next turn, that's 90 total damage, which is quite a lot. It's a lot of damage. And sure enough, that's what they do. Double Critical's like, I don't care. Put a cape on your Pokemon. I'll just smack you in the face. Great moves. Great moves by Double Critical. They recognize that they can just brute force this. And this is what I was saying at the beginning of the battle, right? You've got Sylveon doing 70 damage. You've got 90 damage with Greninja. It creates so much pressure that the Buzzhole deck can't really keep up with that pressure. Randomways gets 2 prize points, but did the phone change size again? I can't see how many prize points they have. Let me make this a little more visual. There we go. Yeah, so Misty doesn't have any prize points yet. Misty does not have any prize points yet. So knocking out Buzzhole won't give Misty the win, but it will probably give Misty the win because there's nothing else. Randomways doesn't have anything else to fight. What Randomways really wants is to draw a second Buzzhole, something that can come in and fight if this Buzzhole goes down. And also, shuffling this Buzzhole is going to be a little tricky. Oh, a Professor Oak! Could that give Randomways the Buzzhole they're missing? Oak gets played. We get a Formosa and a Pokeball. Pokeball, that could be the Buzzhole. Not Celesteela. Not Celesteela. Slytherin! That's not what's supposed to happen. Alright, Randomways gets Goober unlucky and draws every basic in the deck except the one that he needed. It's not looking so good. Not looking so good, but Double Celesteela will at the very least allow Buzzhole to refresh. It will allow Buzzhole to cycle Big Beat and attack with Big Beat again. The problem is it's definitely going to get sniped. There's no way that it doesn't get sniped. Formosa retreats. I don't know why Randomways wanted to discard energy there. You're going to get tons of discarded energy when this Buzzhole goes down anyway. I feel like that was an unnecessary waste of energy. I'm really confused by that play, actually. Legit. Why? Hello? Did that make sense to anybody? I am confused. I am super confused why Randomways did that. But it doesn't matter. The game is over. The game is over. Randomways was planning on winning the game with Cyrus and gonna snipe that Sylveon, finish it off. Problem is, the Cyrus was played by Double Critical just a little bit too quick. Just a little bit too quick. It took out the Celesteela that was damaged, and Greninja sniped the Buzzhole. Just barely knocking out Randomways before Randomways could take the game. Very well played by Misty. Very clutch. Got that Cyrus in. Randomways did a great job, but they just got very unlucky with that draw. Just couldn't get that Big Beat. Sorry, couldn't get the second Buzzhole, I mean. So good game. Good game. That's going to be the third win for... Excuse me. That's going to be the third win for Double Critical. And I'll go ahead and update that, and Misty has won game number 8. Misty's been doing very well, closing the gap between Squad Zero and Double Critical. And now Randomways and Misty are both kind of at match point. The next player to lose loses a life. This is pretty big. If Randomways wins this, Team Double Critical will only have 2 players left to send in. That means they'll be counterpicking at one player later on. It'll be very challenging for them. On the other hand, if they win this, they'll have a great momentum streak. Now, this could be the turning point right here. This could be the turning point, because Squad Zero is only 2 wins ahead. That's not that much. That's not that much. They were much further ahead before, but 2 wins, that's catch-upable. Oh, it looks like Randomways is running an Oricorio Silvally deck, the classic. A great deck. I don't know if it's great against frogs and ponies. I mean, yeah, Oricorio can tank Sylveon and Giratina, but it can't tank Greninja. That's the catch. Randomways is also going first, which you don't want to do is Type Null. Type Null loves going second, hates going first. Puts a little pom-pom bird on the bench, but that's about all Randomways can do right now. I don't even know if playing Oak was the right move. I mean, honestly, maybe you just sit on it and let them red card you into better cards? I'm not sure. Yeah, well, we knew that was coming. We knew that was coming. But, you know, forcing red card by drawing cards with 1 Oak, that's not bad, and Randomway's got a much better hand now, right? And they could have gotten Zorora, which would have been a free energy. So I think the Oak was the right call. I think the Oak was the right call. It just didn't work out. But that doesn't mean it was wrong. We got energy for Type Null, or maybe not. Randomways is thinking about it. Giving the energy to Type Null will allow Sylveon to attack next turn, but if Type Null doesn't flip heads and you don't draw Giovanni, both of which are very specific events that might not, but probably not, going to occur, then, you know, it doesn't seem like we're knocking out Giratina. It seems like the big ghosty will be able to knock out Silvally, which isn't great. And Tails, wow. Randomways is having some bad luck, which is funny because their name is Randomways. That Tails means that there's no way to knock out this Giratina next turn. The best you could do is put it in a position where it'll knock itself out if it attacks. Can't attack yet, though. Can't attack yet, but there's just no way to knock it out right now. Randomways draws a cape, which is super unhelpful, because it means that unless Randomways deliberately plays Dawn and wastes Dawn, effectively, there's no way to attack the Giratina with full force. And Randomways decides not to do that. Randomways does not want to waste Dawn, instead just switching to a Oricorio and gonna tank and try to buy some time. You don't want to do that against Froakie. You don't want to give Froakie the chance to turn into Greninja. That wins the late game. Frogs are scary in the late game. You do not want them escaping that swamp. You don't want that. But Randomways doesn't really have a choice under the circumstances. I think a bug just landed on me. Doesn't really have a choice because, you know, if Silvally stays in, it's going to go down to Giratina. And then where are you? Right? Oricorio takes several turns to build up energy. It's just not working. We see Eevee come forward. Probably going to just tank a hit from Oricorio. Totally fine and not particularly worried. And Randomways not drawing cards with a lot of usefulness. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure that Randomways was right to not go for the Dawn play last turn, because if they had, Giratina would be heavily damaged right now. Then in 2 turns, you could Cyrus snipe it for 2 prize points. I don't know. This play might have been too cautious, and it's one of the reasons that Type Null really likes to go second, because you can see how Randomways is struggling with the energy consumption, right? There's just not enough energy to retreat cycle and power up your 2 energy Pokemon. When Silvally goes second, you don't have this problem. It's got all the energy it needs. Fast energy. And goes first, slow energy. Oricorio zaps Eevee, but Eevee's hanging in there with that Focus Sash. 10 health, it doesn't really have a Focus Sash, but it might as well. This could be the turning point where double critical steals back the game. Eevee evolves into Sylveon, that will turn it into an EX Pokemon worth 2 prize points, but ultimately it gives 2 cards, 2 double critical. Are we going to see a Greninja? There's a Pokeball. Not Greninja yet, but soon. That Greninja's coming. There's Oak. It's unavoidable now. We've got to see a Greninja. There it is. Greninja is on the field. Oricorio is no longer invulnerable. And this is looking really, really bad for Randomways. We're probably going to see the poke fall down on the Silvally, I'm guessing, because Greninja can take out Oricorio whenever it wants to. Nope, attacking the Oricorio. Interesting. Interesting. I guess just playing it safe, probably. And Giratina powers up with even more energy, with extra energy. Finally, Giovanni is drawn, but there's nothing you can do with it now. Randomways doesn't really have enough energy to go crazy with Silvally, and is debating putting Zeraora on the bench. Not that it's particularly useful. It's just a bad spot all around. I don't know what you do here. I'm not sure what Randomways is gonna do. They're kind of locked in a tough spot. They're not drawing the cards they need. Their opponent drew their whole dang deck. It's not looking so good for our GOAT. Hey, Silvally is a GOAT, and Randomways is a GOAT. It works! The GOAT is playing the GOAT deck. Ah, ha, 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 ha. Ow, 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 ow. And there's another rare candy. Now I see why. Now I see why they poked down the Oricorio the prior turn. Because now they can do extra poke to it, do 40 damage to it, and guarantee knock it out next turn. That Orio's going down. That Oricorio is going down, and Giratina has too much health right now. It's just got way too much health. Oh, and they throw one of the pokes on the Silvally. That's smart, because you can still double poke it next turn. And then Giratina comes in. What? What? And then Cyrus with the hand, yoinking Silvally into the active slot. Randomways is getting slaughtered. Giratina attacks with Chaotic Impact, and Silvally is going to go down with negligible damage to Giratina. I think way earlier on, if Randomways had made the Dawn play, it would have been a very wasteful play, but it would have at least stopped some of this. It would have stopped the Giratina momentum. But even then, I'm not sure if this was winnable. Randomways was not getting good draws, was not getting the cards they needed. It's looking pretty rough, I've got to say. It is definitely looking pretty rough. Cleverly using a cape to make a Rio not go down to double Greninja poke, Randomways is doing everything in their power to try to hang in there and survive, to do something that could maybe give them the win. But ultimately, facing down two Greninjas, even with 2 prize points, this is a very tight spot for Randomways to be in. There are theoretically win cons on the table, but they're very difficult to reach and might rely on the opponent making a mistake. And Misty is not going to make a mistake. Misty is an incredible player, a proud member of Double Critical. I don't think Misty's going to mess this up. Yeah, Double Critical's playing well. They're catching up. They're catching up. If they win this game, they'll be 1 away from Squad 0. And they'll have great momentum, too. Eevee played on the bench. That makes sense. Might as well play it. Can't hurt. Greninja fires, doing damage to Zeraora. We're probably going to see the other Greninja hit the Oricorio. No! Cyrus! Oh, no! A Cyrus gets played. Yeah, sure enough, it hits the Oricorio, and we're going to see Giratina take out the Zeraora. And it's at 90 health. That hurts to see. That hurts to see. If only it had 100 more damage on it. And there is no way for Oricorio to survive. It's going to go down to Greninja no matter what. Randomways chooses to attack anyway. Not that it makes a big difference, even with Giovanni. This game is finished, and the win goes to Misty, who will take Game 9. And actually, Misty did pretty well against Randomways. I got to admit, Misty has kind of done incredibly well against the GOAT. Randomways was a little bit unlucky at times, but ultimately Misty played a great game. A fantastic game, and Randomways has just been eliminated after only 1 win. Wow. That's brutal. In case you're wondering why I'm announcing the end of the game while the game's still playing, look at the board and you'll see why. I mean... Alright, so it's very close to even. There are 5 points for Squad 0. but Double Critical only has 4 points. Still, that's one away. Just one away. And Random Ways has been defeated. Sent to the Shadow Realm. Random Ways is done. Squad Zero needs to pick another pilot to send forward. While they're doing that, I'm going to check the chat real quick. Hey, Disobeyed, how are you? Oh, thanks. Unparalleled. Which teams are these and which qualification are they fighting for? Seeing a lot of Squad Zero. Okay, so the two teams are Squad Zero and Double Critical. They are both teams that are one win away from being able to compete in the Global Gym Battles playoffs. Alright, so they're the playoffs of Pokemon Pocket Team Battles. Now, this is the last game of Season 2. So whichever team does not win does not go on to the playoffs. They don't get to move on. They're done. They're defeated. They're eliminated. Their season is over. They cannot participate in the team championships. The team champion tournament, right? They're done. So it's very serious for both teams. They both really want to win this very badly. Yep, so those are the teams and what they're fighting for. Let me just take a look and see if Squad Zero has picked their next player who they're going to be moving forward with. It doesn't look like they have yet. I don't see any questions on Twitch, though I'm just saying hi to Disobeyed real quick. Alright. Now is a great chance to get yourself some water. I think we've got maybe 60 seconds. About 60 seconds before Squad Zero sends in their next member. And Misty's been pulling weight for Double Critical. Misty's got 3 wins. Pretty good. Pretty good. If Misty can just get one more win, they'll be tied with Squad Zero. You know, Squad Zero's got a lot of options. They've got a very big team, a lot of members, a lot of folks who might, decide to step forward. Though, of course, it has to be someone who's registered, right? They registered 5 players ahead of time when everything started. But one of the remaining 3 players needs to step forward and kick butt. Oh, we got somebody. No, we don't. Not yet. Sorry, the screen changed color on me. I thought we got somebody, but someone just joined the chat. Actually, let me type and let Unparalleled. Hey, Unparalleled. Answering your question in 10 minutes. Just letting them know. Alright, chill out and relax for a second. Squad Zero's just deciding who they're going to send forward. We've got a second. I guess a short word from our Psyduck. That was Psyduck. That's every emote that I've learned with Psyduck. Oh, we got somebody! Alright, it looks like it's Lotus. Lotus is the gym leader of Squad Zero. Kind of the team captain. They're bringing out the big guns here. Well, every member of Squad Zero is the big guns. We're bringing out the team captain to finish this. Oh! I see a Solgaleo. At least I think I do. It's a little tiny on my screen on the OBS thing, but on your screen it should be slightly bigger. Is that a Solgaleo? Looked like a Solgaleo to me. Squad Zero loves their Solgaleo decks. They don't play with them as much because they've, fallen out of the meta a little bit. But yeah, Solgaleo Magearna. This is the good one. This is the good one. If you remember my really old tier list about the decks, I said you should play Solgaleo with Magearna. I said that ages ago. Nobody believed me. And then Random Ways did it, and now people are catching on. And when Random Ways does something, people pay attention. Yeah, they're considering who to start with. They're starting with Magearna, which is confusing me. I mean, I kind of like starting with either Eevee or Cosmog. Eevee has the flexibility of teleport... Sorry, Eevee can draw you a card, and Cosmog has the flexibility of potentially teleporting out. I don't know why you would start Magearna. That's just your Oricorio counter. And you're not fighting an Oricorio deck. Right? Why Majerna? I'm not sure what the strategy is. I'm not 1,000% sure what they're going for here. But this is interesting. I wonder if they're trying to pull some kind of shenanigans here. I like shenanigans. I mean, be careful. Shenanigans will summon the gremlin of bad luck sometimes. I don't know if you can take these shenanigans, Squad Zero. Yeah, I mean, the Frogs and Ponies has been doing very well. Both teams have been winning lots of games with it. It's one of the best decks for a reason. You know, I don't know what else to say. Frogs and Ponies is powerful. It's powerful. It's a great deck. I mean, we're clearly seeing it. These are two of the best teams in the world duking it out, and they're both doing the best with this particular deck. I've got to say, I mean, it's a good deck. When you can play it at a 3,000 IQ level, it's a great deck. Amazing. I'm gonna have a little more food. It's pretty good. Whoops, almost did the rest of this muted. It's getting a little cold. I let it sit there for too long. I'm dedicated to my art. This was so tasty, too. But I want this to be a good stream. I want to be there for Squad Zero. I want to be there for them as they fight it out. And as they take a really long time to decide who they're gonna attach energy to. I don't even know. If they had Eevee in the active slot, they could just use Collect. They could just Collect. Why Majerna? I'm trying to figure out why they put Majerna in the active slot. Were they trying for like a hyper sweep? But they weren't going second. If they were going second, I could see it. Then maybe you could do something like that. But you're going first. I mean, I don't know. I don't know about that. Alright, looks like they're just setting up Solgaleo, hoping they draw Solgaleo. That's the plan, that's the play, they're ready to go. Frogs and Ponies got that Sylveon, though, I gotta say. Double Critical is getting critical draws. They're getting what they need to draw more cards, and those cards give them more cards. You know, in Battle of Sylveons, the first person to draw lots of cards draws even more cards. So, you know, that Eevee gives you a Sylveon, that Sylveon gives you another Sylveon, that other Sylveon gives you an Oak, that Oak gives you 2 more cards, and suddenly you've drawn half your deck. See? See? Don't you just love it when I say something and then it happens? I'm not terrible at this game. I joke about myself quite a lot, but I'm not terrible at this game. I've been Master Ball every single season, and the only reason I'm not 10k in Master Ball is just because I stop playing once I get to Master Ball, and then I start trolling. Next season, though, I'm gonna go for top something. I'm gonna go for top 1,000 next season. Because I think 10k is a little too easy to hit. Maybe that's me being a little arrogant, but I think with, like, streaks, I feel like 10k is too easy to hit right now. I'm gonna go for top 1,000 next season. We'll see if I can nail it. We'll see if I can do it. I'm gonna stream that too. Because next season I'm probably not gonna be streaming as much Global Gym Battles, so we'll have a little more time. Maybe. Alright, Giratina's powered up, ready to go. But Squad Zero is not getting what they need to make this happen. We're just not seeing that Solgaleo. We're not seeing Oak. They've got no Pokeballs. This is a brick of bricks. They're brickety bricked. Look at their discard pile. There's nothing in it. Meanwhile, their opponents got the Sylveon, the Giratina, Froakie, the Greninja. They got everything. Squad Zero is just not getting the luck. The luck is not with them. Remember what we did for Squad Zero in the beginning? We gave them the Heart of the Cards chant. I feel like they need another Heart of the Cards chant. Psyduck, we gotta cheer for them. Alright. We're gonna do this again. It worked in the beginning. If you were watching the beginning of this stream, it actually worked. So we'll see if this happens. Duck. All right. The Psyduck quack of good luck has happened. And Cosmog just went down. I don't think we gave them good luck, Psyduck. I think that went backwards. Maybe Sableye was interfering, turned the good luck into bad luck, I don't know. But it's not looking so good for Squad Zero. They're getting wrecked. I'm trying to distract everyone with cute plushies, but the truth of the matter is, actually, that red card might help them. That red card might save their lives. It's probably too late, though. And then Giratina uses Chaotic Impact, taking out Majourna, and I'm pretty sure it'll one-shot whatever they put on next. So, that's GG. Misty is going to take their 4th game and tie up the score. Excuse me. There's nothing they could do. Yeah, they're surrendering. There's nothing they could do. It's over. It's over. 5-5. This is what I was talking about. When Squad Zero goes on a win streak, you know they're about to lose. They're about to lose a few games. They get a little too confident, or the luck switches, or something happens. Alright. Yeah, Misty has won game 10. Misty on a streak right now. Alright, so it's tied up 5-5. You know, this is a very intense match between these two teams. Only one can move on. Only one of them can go to the playoffs, and the other one is done for the entire season. It'd break my heart if Squad Zero has to stop after all we've been through together. Me watching them and talking them up a little bit and occasionally insulting their gameplay in a joking and a positive critiquing kind of way. You know, we've been through a lot together. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Yeah, no. Squad Zero was hyped when they found out I could stream despite being very, very exhausted. Oh my goodness, I am tired. But yeah, nah, like they do like team watch parties and watch the stream after and everything, and I think they use me as kind of training. Like when I start kind of, you know, kind of playfully messing with them a bit, they're like, all right, that's something we can improve on. And when I'm like, oh my god, they're the best thing ever, they're like, yeah, we are. If you're watching this, let me know if that impression was accurate. Alright. Is this... What is this? Another Solgaleo... Oh, replay! Yo, Lotus is doing a replay. So Lotus has used a replay token. What that means is that Lotus is allowed to use the same deck again. But that's not free. There's a price. The price is a child's allowance for beating them at a Pokemon battle. No, the price is that you lose your second deck. So whatever your second deck was, it's gone. It was devoured by Cthulhu. I don't know. But instead, you get to play this deck a second time in exchange for, you know, sacrificing your other deck to some Eldritch Abomination. The benefit of doing this is if you believe you had bad luck, which we saw did happen last game, very unlucky, you have the opportunity to try again, basically, with that deck. And that's what Lotus is doing. Lotus, the gym leader of Squad Zero, is like, we should have won. I'm going to use a replay token. I'm going to bet my second deck. I'm going to bet that deck's life that we'll win again. Nah, we win. Nah, we win. That's what Lotus is saying. We'll see, though. We'll see what happens. Oh, well, that's a nice draw, but I don't know if I would have done that evolution right there. I might have waited on that. Because the problem is you drew the rare candies, right? But can you play it this turn? Oh, you can! Oh, yo, okay, you went second. You went first. Yeah, no, fantastic move. I'm gonna shut up. I thought they went second. I wasn't paying attention. Awful caster. Unsubscribe. No, please don't do that. Actually, you should subscribe, because reasons. Solgaleo doesn't have enough energy to go forward yet. So it's gonna have a lot of trouble with that Giratina in the back. That's a pretty big threat. I think Lotus really wants to draw some lilies now. But having that early Solgaleo is great. It can start taking some names. It can one-shot Sylveon, which is one of the reasons they evolved the back Eevee instead of the front Eevee. Because Steel is super effective on fairy-themed psychic types. Yeah, Sylveon's a psychic type in this game. Weird to anybody who plays the VGC. But it is still weak to Steel types. It is a psychic type that is weak to Steel types, which is kind of how Pokemon Pocket kind of does it. So Solgaleo can Shrek that Sylveon. And we see another one get played. That's going to be more draw from Squad Zero. Sure enough, they're basically saying, see, we just had bad luck last game. When we have good luck, it's an entirely different story. It's an entirely different story. It's like the difference between, I don't know, The Great Gatsby and Hat in the Cat. It's a completely different tale. Or maybe the same one to some very metaphoric literary student. I'm not entirely sure. But either way, Solgaleo uses Soul Breaker, wiping out Eevee. That's going to be 1 prize point for Lotus. And now, it's going to be very, very, very tricky for Misty to get out of this. I mean, that lion is just staring it down. How many frogs can beat 2 lions? I don't know. 2 is a lot of lions. But red card gets played, denying the rare candy, denying the Solgaleo. Denying that second Solgaleo is hugely important because it's going to make it very, very difficult for Lotus to win. If that second Solgaleo was up, it would be guaranteed win. Guaranteed GG. But without that second Solgaleo, it's tricky. Now we could start seeing Sylveons get sniped, for example. We could see all kinds of stuff happen. Greninja attacks the Solgaleo, so there's not going to be any Sylveon Cyrus sniping right now. Giratina's going to attack too. Boom. But there's no second Solgaleo to bring forward. Wow. 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 Top decks the trainer card red. Top decks the trainer card red. That Psyduck squawk of good luck didn't matter. They had bad luck after we did that. But they made their own luck, using the replay token to play the deck again and getting that. Oh, that was a wonderful trainer red. Lotus takes the game, giving Squad Zero 6 points and the lead once again. Well played. That was a clutch red. That was a clutch red. Lotus SC. Misty has finally been eliminated. The biggest thorn in Squad Zero's side has been taken down. And now Double Critical only has 2 more players left. They are starved for choices. But they're still very close. They're neck and neck, right? If this was, like 2 Pokemon racing, one would be Rapidash and one would be Arcanine. They're both in the theme song, kind of going head to head. Anybody familiar with the original theme song kind of gets that. They're both kind of going at it. You don't know who's going to win. You don't know who's going to win. It could be anybody. This is anybody's game right now. It's 6-5, and only one can make it to the playoffs. Very tense, but Lotus clutched out that win, finally took out Misty. Misty can't pilot anymore. We're going to see who we get next from Double Critical. And while Double Critical is deciding who to send out next, let me check the chat. See, no questions on Twitch, no questions on YouTube. Looking pretty good. Alright, so Double Critical needs to decide who they're going to send. They do know that they'll be fighting that Lion deck. Remember, that was the price, right? That was the price of being able to play the deck twice. Lotus is stuck using that deck. Lotus cannot change decks. They're locked in, right? Their second deck was eaten by Cthulhu. It's gone. So Lotus must play the Lion deck. And Double Critical has a chance to counter the Lion deck with, I don't know, what beats a bunch of lions? One of every Pokemon? You can only put 20 cards in a deck. I mean, really, asking the real questions here. Instead of whether a bunch of lions can beat all the Pokemon, which we all know is ridiculous and would never work, how many Pokemon does it take to beat 2 lions? That's what we should be asking. That's the real question. How many Pokemon does it take to beat 2 lions? Alright, I am going to eat a little bit. I hope you will have mercy on my soul, because this is getting super cold. It's just been sitting here. And I kind of want to actually have food. So just while they're waiting for the next player, I'm going to take a few bites of food right here.
learned with horror that there is an emoji. There is an emoji on the Squad Zero Discord that is a dabbing Flareon. I don't know if I can root for them anymore. Time to change sides. I'm just kidding. Well, not about the emoji, that's real. But, no, it's actually really cute. The little Flareon. Meow. Ah, perfect timing. Dinkle. Like Dinkelberg? Dinkelberg. Okay, their name is officially Dinkelberg. And if they win, if they beat Squad Zero in a match, I get to say Dinkelberg. But with, more of a little more vibrato. Alright, Squad Zero has to keep playing the Lions deck, and I don't know what Dinkelberg is playing. This is gonna be a fun one. I don't know what deck Dinkelberg is playing. It seems to have water energy. It's probably gonna be the Water Heal Gren Ricario stall deck. Excuse me. A very good deck for taking out EX Pokemon. I bet they've been saving it, saving it for a Zard or a Solgaleo situation. Yeah, Water Healer Ricario is like the Chef's Kiss counter to Solgaleo. But luckily, this Solgaleo deck is running Magearna, which is an answer to that. Magearna can do 80 damage to Ricario, potentially knocking it out in one hit if it's not wearing a cape. But it's a little bit of a race. It's a little bit of a race because you want to get your Solgaleo online before Ricario comes onto the field. That hasn't happened. So instead, you want to get Magearna online really quickly to pressure off a Ricario before they get 2. That hasn't happened. Well, it's tricky. It's going to be a tricky uphill fight for Squad Zero. This might be double critical just out-decking them again. Entirely possible that's what we're witnessing. Double critical has been very good at that, like picking the perfect deck to completely shut down things that Squad Zero plays. Yeah, Puku Mewtwo, Froakie, and Ricario. That is a deck, alright. A little bit of a troll deck. And giving energy to Puku Mewtwo. I think double critical is, they're having a little fun with this deck, but it is a very good answer to what Squad Zero is doing. And unfortunately, Squad Zero can't play that Eevee. They can't, because if they do, it'll take up Magearna's slot. Maybe they were too quick to put down 2 Cosmogs. Maybe they should have put down 2 Eevees instead. I don't know. Either way, we're going to see them use Collect here. They do get the Magearna. As long as they don't get red carded right now, they can start powering up Magearna next turn. But I don't know if that's going to be in time. Oh no! Oh no! Double critical already has Froakie. They already have Froakie. Froakie can just eat its way through everything on the battlefield. And unfortunately, Squad Zero doesn't have any energy that's useful on any Pokemon yet. Cosmog takes a nice 20 chunk of damage. Squad Zero, they get leftovers though, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. But still no Sylveon, no additional Oak. They just put down Magearna because they have to. They gotta power up that Magearna, get it to the spot where it can threaten off a Ricario. We should probably see leftovers put on the damaged Cosmog, right? Yeah? 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 Trainer Card Red is play just for playdown. They're not using Trainer Card Red, they just want to get rid of it, get it out of their hand. For the same reason I would have played Leftovers, but it seems like they don't want to do that for some reason. I would gladly take the health, but whatever. Oh, they got the Lion! But still, playing with fire as far as being red carded goes, I mean, there's a lot of cards in that hand. A single errant red card or Mars could spell disaster for Squad Zero. Puku Mewtwo steps up to the front, didn't see that coming. I did not see that coming. Why? And then why give the energy to Ricario? Shouldn't you give the energy to Greninja? I'm more than a little bit confused as to what's going on. I feel like Double Critical is not necessarily playing this as well as they can. It seems to me like they were a little bit too excited by Pyukumuku and really wanted to play it very badly, as opposed to making good and strategic decisions. Greninja would have been fine because Solgaleo doesn't have enough energy to attack yet. So it would have been totally alright. Rising Road is an interesting choice, but I get why they're playing it. You know, if Solgaleo can't attack, keep it in the active slot, makes sense. It can heal with Lily, makes sense. But I wouldn't give it leftovers now. You waited! You waited! Put it on Majerna! Huh? Why did you wait? And then I'm confused, honestly. I don't know what they're doing. But they might be right. You know, they've played with leftovers a lot more than I have. This humble commentator acknowledges that my leftovers knowledge is limited. I do feel that the Apple Core should maybe have been put on a different Pokemon, but I could be wrong. I could totally be wrong. However, had they put it on Majerna, Majerna would not have gone down here. So I don't think I was wrong. I think I was... leftovers only works in the active slot, though. Maybe someone can double check that. If leftovers only works in the active slot, that makes sense. That might be the case. I'm going to look that up real quick. But that is going to be a win. That is going to be a win for Dinkelberg of Double Critical. Let's update the scoreboard real quick, and then we'll check that. Yeah, leftovers might not be playable. No, it's playable, obviously, but it might not work on a bench Pokemon. Game, what is this? Game 11 was won by... Is this game 11? No. Lotus won game 12. This is game 13. No, Lotus won game 11. This is game 12, and it was won by Dinkelberg. I'm just going to put that in caps. Yeah, I think that feels right. Dinkelberg. Alright. I'm going to look that up real quick, because I'm curious if leftovers could have potentially saved them there. Let me see. Leftovers pocket. Here we go. Active spawn. Okay, yeah, so leftovers wouldn't have saved Majerna. Yeah, it only works on a Pokemon in the active slot. You can put it on whatever Pokemon you want, but it would not have saved them in this particular case. Unfortunately. Alright. Alright. The score is tied. It's 6-6. Both teams have exactly the same number of wins. But Squad Zero has the momentum right now. They can pick another player to bring forward against Dinkelberg to fight that Oricorio deck. You know, a Silvally would be a very strong choice if they have one available. If they have any Silvallies left, that would definitely be good. Anything with lots of strong basics is good. Eevee Party is a little fishy. I wouldn't use Eevee Party. Probably not Zard, not Galeo. You could do it with like an Nihilego deck. That's an option. But I definitely think that Silvally would be the best choice if they have that available. Rampardos Garchomp is possible. It's a possible deck. We'll see who they're bringing forward. Let me see if they've chosen their replacement team member. Yes, they have. It's Gerhard. I think there are like 2 Gers in Squad Zero. I'm not sure how to differentiate them because they're both Ger. But it looks like we've got Ger. And they will be fighting Dinkelberg. Score is 6-6. The score is tied. Whichever one of these teams gets 4 more wins first, is going to go to the playoffs, while the other team goes to the bleachers for the rest of the season. The stakes are real. The stakes are very high. No matter what happens, though, both teams played very well this season. They did a fantastic job. Alright, we see Pyukumuku coming out. We've got Froakie. It looks like another Frogs and Ponies deck. It looks like Gur is trying to use Frogs and Ponies to stop Dinkelberg's troll deck. But there's the Professor Oak from Dinkelberg. They have the best name. I'm sorry, that player has the best name. 10 out of 10. Dinkelberg. Whoa. Yeah, I mean, you just dump Mars and Cape here and hope that they don't Mars you back. Early Greninja, let's go. But wow, the Pyukumuku deck has Greninja? Sorry, it has Giratina? The Pyukumuku deck has Giratina? Really? That's wild. So what is it? A Ricario. It's a Ricario Gren. Yeah, it's frogs and ponies, but with Pyukumuku and a Ricario instead of Sylveon. It's a weird deck. What is it? All Pokemon? What is that deck? I don't know what Double Critical is running. I don't know what Dinkelberg is using, but it's trolly, it's amazing, and it seems to be working. So props to Dinkelberg. Mad props to Dinkelberg. I gotta give Dinkelberg some serious credit here. Alright, Squad Zero's got some spicy options. They've got some spicy entrees they could bring to the table right now. We're definitely going to see that Froakie go to the bench. I mean, there's no question. But that active Froakie will evolve into a Greninja. Put Froakie on the bench. The bench. They can't hear me, by the way. I'm muted and deafened. I'm not sure why they're not like immediately putting the Froakie on the bench. There's not really much of a chance of getting Sabrina or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, there we go. They're probably talking about something else. Probably strategizing who to attack. And it's a tough call, right? I mean, we could see them poke Giratina and Cyrus it in. That would be my first choice. We could see them poke a Ricario and take it out. That's another good option. I personally think that Giratina is the top target, because that thing will just sweep your face. Yeah. Yeah, and then you Cyrus it, you bring it in, you attack it, that's 60 more damage, and suddenly a Giratina's got to run. Great move, great plays. It either wastes the energy or it's KO'd. Fantastic. Love it. That was the right move. I feel like Squad Zero is doing pretty well, even though they don't have many cards. But meanwhile, Double Critical, you know, they've got some cards to play. Giratina can retreat into a Ricario that could do 70 damage. That's half of Greninja's health. You can retreat into Pyukumuku and start harassing Greninja, threatening to take Greninja out if Greninja defeats the Pyukumuku. Wow, we see a cape go down on Giratina that'll actually make it proofed against Greninja. Wow. That's a move. That's a move. This is tough, actually. This is tough. Because Greninja could attack Giratina, right? Put big threat damage on it, right? You could do that. But if you do, then Greninja is going to take massive damage, possibly go down next turn. Possibly go down. Do you retreat into the Froakie? Do you stall? Or do you attack? Squad Zero's attacking. They're attacking. No shenanigans. They're just going to attack. Just going to go right at him. And say, attack as if you dare, Giratina. We're not afraid of you. We're not afraid of your bellowing and your psychic energies. We have a frog. We also have a frog. Our frog is better, darn you. I mean, that's basically what Squad Zero's doing right now. They're flexing on that frog. Greninja's got Giratina in check. If Giratina attacks, it gets knocked out. And Greninja gets a free pickoff and wins. So Giratina can't attack. I feel like Double Critical has to retreat here. They're stuck. And if they retreat, Giratina goes down anyway. But at the very least, you force Greninja to waste its attack trying to snipe the Giratina, and that's a lot better. So yeah, I think the right move here is to retreat into a Ricario and smack Greninja's face. That's probably what Double Critical is going to do, because it does half of Greninja's health, and on top of that, it forces Giratina to attack in a way that it can't completely defeat the Ricario. And then a Ricario could win the game in 2 turns. Yep, that's what we're seeing. Only 20 seconds left. Took them a while to arrive at the conclusion. I feel like Squad Zero, they jump to conclusions before I even consider them. What is that? Oh! Oh, the top deck! What is that? The top deck! The top deck! That was insane. What was that top deck right there? That's that's a GG for Squad Zero. They got lucky. I will fully say this. Squad Zero got crazy lucky with that top deck. What were the odds? To be fair, they also weren't like getting Oaks and stuff. They weren't getting like the Sylveons and stuff. So they were getting unlucky in a lot of other ways. But that particular draw was cinema. Dinkelberg has lost a deck. We're going to go to 7-6. Squad Zero takes the lead again. They have been consistently holding onto the lead, if just barely, throughout these games. But Double Critical has shown that they have the ability to surpass Squad Zero if and when they need to. It should be a 12, right? And then 13. Game 13 goes to Gur of Squad Zero. Actually, this is Gur H. I think we have 2 Gurs, and this is Gur H. We have multiple Gurs. And they're just diving back into the match again. You might as well. You know, there's not really a lot of choice. Squad Zero has to keep using the same deck, and Double Critical has to use the same deck as well because Dinkelberg already has a win. Dinkelberg already has a win, so I don't believe they're allowed to use a replay token. So Dinkelberg needs to go into their second deck, and Squad Zero needs to stay with the deck they're using. That's how this has to go. Dinkelberg is on their last life. They're their last trophy case, dare I say. Hopefully some people understand what I'm talking about when I say that. If Dinkelberg loses this game, they're sent to the Shadow Realm, and Double Critical has to send in their last member. But it's very close. It's not over yet. Any team could still win and be the one that gets to go to the playoffs. Alright, we've got Tails for Squad Zero. That's usually good. When you're Giratina and have this opening hand, it can be a little bit less good, but it's still good. It's still good. You get that early Psychic Energy. That looks really nice. They're starting Buzzhole. That's probably not so great. So far, it looks like Squad Zero is a little bit favored in this opening. I think Frogs and Ponies does defeat Buzzhole more often than not, but you need Froakie. You need Froakie. Oh, there's the Pokeball. Just what Squad Zero needed. Gurdrew and Eevee, that could turn into a Froakie later through evolutions and such. Eevee gets put on the bench with a little pat-pat. And Giratina. And Giratina. Are they going to Mars? I don't know if it's worth Marsing here. Endura, oh, Endura this time for sure. Darn it, they got me again. Really? Really? Okay. Giratina bellows. They're psyching me out. They're psyching me out with the bellowing. Just like looking me in the eyes. With Giratina having a ton of energy, it'll be able to attack soon. Maybe even before a Buzzhole can get its ultimate attack up. The problem is Buzzhole can absolutely duel Giratina. It needs one less energy to do so. And because of that, and because of Giratina's self-damage mechanic, it'll be a little bit tricky for Giratina to win this. Squad Zero really wants a Froakie. They need to get a Froakie on the bench to boost Giratina's damage so they can take out the Buzzhole. Squad Zero's tapping their deck, they're tapping their opponent's deck, they're just looking at the numbers, looking at the probabilities. And when you tap a deck, you can see how many cards are in it, if you didn't know that. And the same thing works on your hand. You could tap your hand or your opponent's hand, and it'll show a number of cards there too. Really useful if you didn't know that. Tips by Sneaky. Now, we're just waiting for Double Critical to take their turn. They can't attach any more energy. They decided not to play a card. We're probably going to see Mars get played. Probably. I mean, like, look at how many cards that are in their hand right there. We're probably going to see Mars get played. But first, Sylveon, you know, Squad Zero wants to see their options first. See their options. Get a Pokeball. Hope that's a Froakie. Froakie. Another Eevee. Wow, Squad Zero is just not having very good luck with these Froakie shenanigans. And now they're like, well, okay, what do I do? What do I do? I was supposed to get a Froakie. Giratina can try to duel Buzzhole. I don't know if it's going to win, but it can try. Now they're not even sure if they can put Eevee on the bench on account of Formosa. Formosa could come in and start knocking down the Eevee. I think you still do it, though. I think it's still the right move. But I'm honestly not sure. Squad Zero decides to put energy on Sylveon. They're hovering over Mars. I'd probably pay him. It's a weird Mars, because normally you don't want to play Mars while your opponent is bricked. And obviously they're not getting any Celesteelas, right? They're kind of bricked. On the other hand, they have so many cards, they'll probably draw something good next turn. You kind of want to stop that. But Squad Zero, no. They're like, nah. We'd rather you draw 1 new card than 3 new cards. 4, strictly speaking. We'd rather you draw 1 new card than 4 new cards. So they just let them draw. We see Celesteela get online. Red card gets played. And that's one of the reasons to Mars. It prevents your opponent from Marsing or red carding you. However, that was the most glorious Mars the world has ever seen, and Squad Zero is hopping right now. Squad Zero is hopping more than a Lopunny in the middle of a beanbag race. Or a bag race? What do you call those things where you get in the bag in your race? I don't know. Is that a beanbag race? Corn bag race? I don't know what those things are called. But more than a Lopunny in that. And that's how hopping they are right now. Look at this. Look at this. They got the Sylveon. They got the Oak. They got the rare candy. They don't have Froakie, unfortunately. Where is that Froakie? Where is their Froakie? I don't see the Froakie. They need the Froakie. A little frog. Cute little frog with the eyes. Without Froakie, it's going to be very difficult to win this. Because Giratina does not look like it's in a position to be able to knock out the Buzzhole. We're going to see Eevee evolve into Sylveon. That's going to be +2 cards. Froakie. Froakie. None of those are Froakie. Oak gets played. Froakie. Froakie. There it is. Now Greninja can happen next turn. But unfortunately, because Squad Zero put energy on Sylveon last turn instead of Giratina, it's impossible to power Froakie to the point where it could attack as Greninja. Which is bad. Possibly game losing. I don't know if necessarily I could call that a mistake. But I will say that had they put the energy on Giratina instead of the Sylveon, Greninja would knock out Buzzhole here and win the game. But because they didn't do that, and again, I'm not saying it was a mistake, but because they didn't do that, Squad Zero has almost certainly lost. Or have they? Or have they? Maybe there's another way they can knock out Buzzhole. With Greninja Poke plus Sylveon, it still does enough damage to knock out the Buzzhole. And they're going to play Mars, weaken their opponent, knock them down to just 1 card in their hand because they knocked out Giratina. Putting a cape on their Pokemon of choice. Probably the Gren. Yeah, I'd put the cape on the Gren because I'd be worried about Buzzhole Lucamina Rush. They decide not to put the cape on anybody. Buzzhole goes down, and that's 2 prize points for Squad Zero. Ogre. I'll just call them Ogre. Yeah, Ogre works. Not Gur-H. That's weird. We'll call them Ogre. I mean, if they want to be called Gur-H, I'll definitely call them Gur-H. That's fine. It's just, I'm calling them Gur-H because their name is Gur plus a random adjective beginning with H, and I'm not sure what it means. So I'll call them Ogre. The Ogre is looking very good today. We see that it's playing a fantastic Sylveon with a little Greninja for flavor. Yes, yes. It gives it just a little bit of just extra something. I don't know what I'm doing. Am I trying to wine taste Sylveon? How does that work? I don't know what's happening. Yeah, don't worry about it. Greninja gets a nice poke on the Formosa. It's going to get Cyrused in. Very easy win. Very good cleanup from Squad Zero. And Gur is just going to wipe out Dinkelberg for the win, making it 8-6. That was a very clean game. A very solid game. Squad Zero takes it. Beautiful. Beautiful play. Beautiful play. Very clean. Very nifty. Well done. It's just fantastic. Sorry, I had a little something here. I was just brushing it off, and I didn't want to do it on the camera. So, right now, Squad Zero's got to be feeling pretty good, right? Ogre's on a roll, and Double Critical only has one member left. Only one player left who could possibly defeat them. 2 decks. If they can make their way through 2 more decks, Squad Zero gets to go to the playoffs. They get to fulfill their dreams. I'm so happy for them, but I don't want to be too happy yet, or these tears of joy will quickly turn into tears of sadness. So we're going to see what happens. We're going to see what happens, because there's still more games to be played, and Double Critical can absolutely come back from this position. We've seen bigger comebacks. Both to and from Squad Zero, we've seen bigger comebacks than this. It's nowhere near over. And Double Critical does get the chance to try to counterpick now. I'm going to hide the screen for just a second while I see if there are any questions in chat. I don't see any questions on Twitch. I don't see any questions on YouTube. Oh, wait. The competition is GGB. Okay, yeah, that was Zesty just explaining what was going on. Looking good. All right, let me go back to Discord, and they've picked their final player. Well, not that there was a choice. They only have 1 player left. This is the final player for Double Critical. This is it. This is the last player that has any right to participate. The last player who's allowed to be here. If this player does not win, it's over. It's Jover. But they've got 2 decks. And one of them seems to be Giratina Darkrai. The classic, but also a deck with a lot of vulnerabilities. We could definitely see Squad Zero having a counter somewhere in their remaining 4 decks. Well, remaining 3, I guess. And even Frogs and Ponies is arguably something of a counter to Giratina Darkrai by itself. I can absolutely see this being a win for Squad Zero, but what's the player name? I can't quite see it on the screen. Let me see. Flocky! Flocky! Yo, they're playing Flocky? Oh! Yo, Flocky! Oh my goodness. No wonder I had fewer viewers on YouTube today. Flocky watches this. Oh no. Does Flocky know all of their secrets from watching this? Is Flocky just like familiar with all of their secrets? Because Flocky watches my channel actually. And Flocky's a really good player too. I'm a little afraid for Squad Zero now. Yo, Flocky's pretty good. Flocky's pretty good. I've seen Flocky do very well in the Ursi Day. Flocky does well in a lot of tournaments. Yeah, the Mars from Flocky was very brutal. You know, taking away like some Greninja options from the Squad Zero very early on. That was a brutal Mars. And now Darkrai's got the Poison Barb. It's got the Nihilego. It's starting to poke with Nightmare Aura. Right? It's looking pretty rough. It's looking pretty rough for Squad Zero. They don't really have a way to attack right now. I'm not sure what they do. Yeah, Flocky comes to bring the pressure. Flocky brings the heat. Oh, Giratina's very nice. That's going to be very nice, especially if you can't attack, right? Especially if you can't attack. Giratina's fantastic. I'm not sure if the Froakie's going to stay in a retreat, but either way, we probably want to see Giratina bellow this turn, start getting that energy it needs. Maybe even putting a water energy on it. Yeah, they're considering it. There we go. And bellow, yeah. They're going to let Froakie take some punches. They're going to let Froakie take some punches, maybe retreat it later. I would have retreated it first, let Eevee take some hits. You know, force that early Sabrina or something, because you're allowing for Cyrus Darkrai Poke KO if this continues. I don't like leaving Pokemon at 20 health if I can avoid it in front of Darkrai, but we'll see. We'll see. Oh, Double Critical gets their own Giratina. That's going to bellow too. This is the turn. What do you get? A unhelpful Pokeball. That'll help draw down the deck a little bit of unwanted cards, but it's not a Sylveon. It's not a rare candy. We're going to see Froakie actually retreat here, probably into an Eevee. Yeah, sure enough. And then Giratina is going to collect its remaining energy. It's going to bellow, because of course it does. The question is whether or not Squad Zero wants to put the Super Cape on a Pokemon. I'm not sure. Like, you could put it on Giratina for later. You could throw a Mars, but that's not really useful right now. If you were gonna play anything, I would put the cape on Giratina probably, or Froakie. Either one would be good. Either one. All right, they decide to go with Giratina. Giratina's gonna be their big bad attacker this game. Giratina's got enough energy that it can attack. That's nice. And if Darkrai takes down Eevee, we could see a funny thing where Froakie softens up the Darkrai for Giratina, right? Like Froakie attacks, but it can't because it doesn't have enough health. That's the problem. Yeah, it really, really, really needs the rare candy. Ogre needs that rare candy. Or a Sylveon to draw the rare candy. Or an Oak to draw the Sylveon to draw the rare candy. But you gotta get the rare candy next turn. That's how you KO Darkrai. You get the rare candy, you poke, you knock out, Giratina sweeps, you win the game, GG. But you got to get the rare candy. Since it all comes down to this, let's cheer for Squad Zero to get the rare candy. Get the rare candy, go! That was the worst cheer ever. Ow, ow, ow. Okay, we'll work on the cheers. I don't know, I'm not an Eureka Rio. Maybe we could hire an Eureka Rio to do cheer training for me and Psyduck. Wow. What? Flocky panics and retreats Darkrai, dumping all of its energy and switching into a different Poison Barb Giratina. That's wild. That is a move. That's certainly a move. I think Flocky was just really scared that the Greninja was coming. And it might well have been. Yeah, fair. It might well have been. Does that Sylveon lead to a rare candy, perhaps? Yes, it does. But I don't think this saves them. I don't think that retreat saves them. They should have just stuck in with Darkrai, maybe. What do you attack in this position? Probably the back. Yeah, they're poking the back Giratina. And they're going to just knock it out with their own Giratina. Because that's the biggest attacker on the field. It's the only thing with energy. It's got enough energy to attack after one more bellow. But by knocking it out, you take 2 prize points and delete all of their energy. Yeah, I don't know why Double Critical made that panic retreat. I guess they were worried about this happening. But they might have at least stood in the game a little bit more if they didn't dump all of Darkrai's energy into the void. Maybe not, though. The same thing might have happened. I don't know if there was a way to get around this. Like, when you've got the Giratina Greninja combo, you just wombo your way through everything. Very few things can survive this. Very few things can survive this. Ogre is destroying. Just dominating. That Giratina can't even equip a cape because it's wearing a Poison Barb. And it can't retreat without Leaf. It's like guaranteed to go down. I think this is GG. I think Squad Zero is about to pick up win number 9. But win number 9 is not win number 10. There is a mountain of difference that you have to cross. There's a whole range of mountains between win number 9 and win number 10. Flocky is not looking too good. Yeah, Flocky just bellows, powers up, accepting defeat with honor. Not hesitating, Ogre is going for the poke. Ogre is going for the chaotic impact. And yeah, there's the surrender. That's GG. That's going to be a 3rd win for Ogre. And taking Squad Zero to 9. The score is 9-6. Squad Zero is doing amazing. They're on the last rung of the ladder of victory. If they can just win one more game, without losing 4, they will go on to the playoffs. It'll be great. It'll be fantastic. I'll feel so good for them. But they need to win. It's not over until they win. Gonna check chat real quick, see if there are any questions or comments. I don't see any. Alright, we're gonna keep going. This is it. This is why we're here. This is the moment we've been waiting for. I don't know. Play the English dub theme song to Oban Star Racers. That was an obscure one. That was a very... I make obscure references on occasion. The lyrics go something like, "Our time has finally come. This is the chance that we've been waiting for." It all comes down to this one shining moment, something something. It's very intense. It's a great theme song. Honestly, better than the Japanese one, and I almost never say that. The Japanese ending song is so fire, they actually used it in the dub. Warateta, great song. I'm just waiting for them to lock in. I think that technically speaking, Double Critical could use a replay token on Giratina Darkrai. They'd have to be insane to do so, because Giratina Darkrai gets bricked by so many things. I mean, you could get Buzzhold, you could get a Ricariode, you get just attacked by this. Honestly, this kind of counters it. I don't know. I wouldn't replay here, but we'll see what they're doing. They're also probably very emotional. Remember, they're one game away from losing it all. Yeah, they're not replaying. If Double Critical loses this game, they're gone. Their season is over. Alright, we see their last deck is an Orico deck. They had a lot of Oricorio decks. And I think the thing about the Oricorio decks is that they did very well against specific Squad Zero decks. Like they sniped specific Squad Zero decks. But then they started falling apart to other decks, right? They couldn't stay in there for long periods of time. Meanwhile, Squad Zero, yeah, they used some decks that just went down to a Rickario, but they had decks with staying power, right? Decks that could keep going, keep bringing again and again. And that kind of gave them more wins. Not just like, haha, I Rickario you, but like, nah, I've got this really good meta deck, very stable, we learned to play it very well, we're thinking very far ahead, we're doing crazy moves, that's the way to win. That's the way to win. There's no such thing as an absolute hard counter in this game. Yes, Oricorio will hard counter that one Zard deck, that one Solgaleo deck a bit. But it doesn't really beat everything else. An interesting little Pokecom coming out there. We see Giratina. What is this? What is this? Electric? What? This is a Oricorio Froakie Giratina. Is this the Pyukumuku thing again? Are they running the Pyukumuku thing but without the Pyukumuku? Remember, you have to register all your decks ahead of time, so you are allowed to register multiple copies of the same deck as long as you do it ahead of time. So they might have done that. It's entirely possible. Yo, the on-curve Greninja. The on-curve Greninja. It's just a choice of do you want to evolve the one in the front or the one in the back. But yo, the one in the front seems like the right choice because that way you don't get sabbed. Because getting sabbed would be GG. We could also see Greninja snipe the Giratina and try to bring that in, but that's a little dangerous. You don't want to take an attack from the Oricorio, and Giratina can't power itself, because this deck is water electric energy. So there's really no way for Giratina to get online quickly enough to compete with that Greninja. It just can't happen. So as long as Greninja can take out Oricorio, it wins. That's the play here. Squad Zero is going for a very clean, aggressive win based on that early Greninja draw. I'd hate to be Flocky. Flocky is such a good player, but you're not seeing it from these games. You're just not seeing it from these games because Squad Zero is not giving them a chance. They're just getting shut down with these Greninjas. These ninjas are popping out of nowhere, taking double critical stuff out of line. They're thinking. They're trying to see if there's any way out of this. I feel so bad for Flocky right now. We're with you, Flocky. I'm kind of rooting for Squad Zero, but I'm also with you. It's a complicated emotional state. Yeah, I mean, that's... We could see Oak into Sylveon. We could see just Poke dropped on Jira, followed by Knockout the Bird. We could see a full attack on Giratina right now. There's a lot of things we could see. And then we could see, like, the Oak maybe put down an Eevee, try to Sylveon evolve it. The game isn't over. The game isn't over. Flocky's making the right moves. Flocky's absolutely making the right moves. There's still plenty of time for this to end with Flocky's victory, but it's going to be hard. It looks like Squad Zero is going for the aggressive play. They've tapped Giratina. And since Giratina can't attack this turn, they're just going to knock out Oricorio, just take it out of bounds. That gives them the option of attacking with Silvally later on, potentially. And it means that if Giratina goes down, Double Critical will lose the game, so they can't let that happen. Flocky has got to do something. Even if all Flocky can do is bellow, Flocky should bellow. Because if you knock out this Greninja, if you knock it out, you have the potential to sweep. What's a Froakie gonna do to you, right? You have the potential to just win the game. So it's not over. Flocky does have a chance. Also, my vision is starting to blur. That is how tired I am right now. If you appreciate my streaming after 24 hours of traveling, please give me a like or a subscribe. I'd appreciate it. Or even just say a nice thing in the comments. That's enough for me. Oh, I gotta hang in there. Oh, I gotta hang in there for Squad Zero. I've watched them this whole time. I'm not gonna stop now. Ooh, an Irida to heal 20 health. That seems like overkill, but it puts Giratina in range of not being too shottable. That's actually a smart move, as it could potentially change things a little bit. Yeah, thinking about the Mars, thinking about whether to put energy on Eevee going for Sylveon Tech, or you go for the other Greninja, but Greninja's not active yet, so you probably want the energy on Eevee. Problem is, if Eevee evolves into Sylveon, you can't sack it. It's tricky. It's tricky. It's a tricky position. There are traps everywhere. You make one wrong move, the trap springs. Yoink! And suddenly we've caught Sableye. Dun 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 dun. Would you like to name this Sableye? It's adorable, and you can put it in a box forever. Until we use you in a gym battle. Anyway. They get another Oricorio. That could be really powerful as a secondary threat, as something to retreat to. We see that Flocky's got a Froakie. Flocky's bringing the Pokemon. Flocky's, cycling in the Pokemon. It's really unknown if Flocky can actually win this, but they're playing very well. Now, Giratina will take a little bit of self-damage there. Oh, that was a huge mistake. That was a massive blunder. They couldn't actually attack there. No, it wasn't a blunder, because they didn't know, right? Flocky didn't know that they had Sylveon. Flocky didn't know. Yeah, Flocky just had to hope that they didn't have it, but Ogre had it. We're not even going to see who the last member of Squad Zero is. There's the surrender. I want to start by saying, huge shout out to Double Critical. They will not be moving on. Their season is over. But they did an amazing job. They played really well. They were so close to qualifying for the playoffs. Definitely one of the best teams of Pokemon Pocket players in the world. However, they did not win. And I want to give a huge shout out to Squad Zero that has just qualified for the Global Gym Battle Playoffs. Let's go! Oh my goodness, we're freaking out! Yeah! Yeah! Heck yeah! Alright, major props for Squad Zero. I'm super happy for them. Let me just go ahead and update the score for the sake of completeness here, so that we're going to put a big number 10 on there. Squad Zero has done it. They've done it. Unless I've lost count at some point, which is entirely possible. They've done it. No, yeah, 16 games. Squad Zero has managed to make the playoffs. This is it. I'm so happy for them. They've really worked hard to refine their teamwork, their strategies and tactics. They've been doing so well recently. Congrats to Squad Zero, and you can look forward to seeing them in the playoffs of Global Gym Battles. I have no idea if I'm going to stream that, if I can stream that, who streams that, how that works. I don't actually know, but it's pretty cool, and we'll find out. I'm the Sneaky Dragon, and just so everybody knows, I've been a little slower on the videos because I got a new job and I'm working on 2 crazy big videos that are eating up all of my time, so I don't have as much time for the little ones. Next week, we're going to release one more little video, just one tiny little experiment, like a fun little, hey, did you know how this mechanics works kind of thing. But then we're going crazy with the videos. We've got some amazing videos coming up. And I'm going to start streaming next season my own games. And I'm going to get to top 1K in Master Ball and actually stay there. I mean, I've been to top, 100 something in Master Ball before. But, I wasn't there at the end of the season, right? This time, I'm going for top 1,000 by the end of the season. I'm pretty sure I can do it, because I usually hit Master Ball within the first week. And there are streaks now. And I was, pretty close to it before. I just stopped playing after like a bit, so I'm pretty sure I can do it. So we're gonna try for that. We're gonna try to hit top 1,000 next season. It's gonna be a lot of fun, more awesome stuff on this channel. But it is gonna be a little slower next week, just to let you know. Major shout out to everybody. I hope you had fun. That's it for this stream. I'm gonna go and say hi to Squad Zero and give them a congrats. And I'll catch you later. Oh, and just in case I'm not the one streaming it, you can find more about the Global Gym Battles on the Global Gym Battle Discord. And if you don't know where that is, ask people where they play Pokemon Pocket. Someone will be able to direct you. Hopefully I will be able to stream some of that, though, so you'll be able to catch it here. See you around. Hey, YouTube, it's just me and you, Tube. Because of how YouTube works, it takes a minute for the YouTube stream to stop, but I'll turn that off as soon as it works. So the stream is over. Just so you know, you can hop off. Thanks for coming by.